Hey guys. This is what if Naruto was in Rosario vampire. He lived among the humans and all he's ever felt was hate and loneliness while being called a monster. It's ironic that sometimes the cruelest monsters are humans themselves. Tired of his life, he becomes what they feared and embraced his inner demon and leaves to live among the monsters. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 1. Pain. That was the only word that came to Naruto's mind when he woke up and felt the pain from his earlier battle erupt through his entire body. He looked around to see he was in a hospital room, alone. He had a bitter smile at this as he realized that once again when he was hurting, either physically or emotionally, he had no one to help him. His body was covered with bandages and he could barely move without feeling some kind of ache on his body, but he didn't let that get him down. No, because he kept his promise. He promised her to bring Sasuke back, and he did. It just took some physical persuasion to make Sasuke see the error of his ways. Hopefully now he has proven himself. He kept his promise to Sakura. Now maybe the girl he loves will acknowledge him. He completed the mission given to him by the Hokage. Maybe now the village will see him as a reliable shinobi instead of the dead last, as they so eloquently call him. Maybe now he has proven he is a human being who works his hardest instead of the demon brat that they have labeled him as, and accept that he is not the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Acceptance, such a funny word in the life of Naruto Uzumaki. Konoha is known as a village that treats everyone as family, all except for one boy. Naruto has lived his life alone, a constant life for survival as the villagers tried to end him. Is that how they treat family? Although he's not an expert, never really having a family, he's certain that the answer to that question would be, hell no. But he has accepted it as a part of his life, as just another obstacle to get over in order to achieve his dream. Just then the door opened, interrupting Naruto from his thought. He looked at the visitor to see the busty blonde Hokage. The older woman saw that he was awake and smiled in relief. "Glad to see you're awake," she said as she approached his bedside. "Glad to know you care, Bachan," he said with a cheeky grin as a tick mark appeared on her head. "I'd suggest you watch what you say unless you want to extend your time in the hospital," she threatened as she waved her fist at him. Seeing this, he gulped in fear, deciding to keep his mouth shut. "Well, now that you decided to keep quiet, there's something I have to tell you," Tsunade said with a frown. "What?" he asked, confused. "You've been out for a few days, and something happened during that time," she said with a solemn look. "What happened?" he asked seriously. Whatever happened must be serious to get a look like that from Tsunade. "While you and the others were still injured, Sasuke used that as an opportunity to escape again. I still had a shortage of shinobi, and with you guys unable to go out, we had no one to stop him," she answered sadly. Hearing this, Naruto gritted his teeth and clenched his fist. All that hard work for nothing. "Where is he? I'll go get him back now," he said as he tried to get out of bed. The moment he moved, though, he felt a wave of pain that sent him back down. "Settle down before you kill yourself," she sighed as she watched him struggle with the sheets of his bed. "Fine. When get I get out of here?" he asked as he glared at the sheets as if they were evil reincarnated. "Tomorrow. I want you to stay here for the rest of the day just to be safe," she explained. Naruto didn't like the idea of staying in the hospital any longer, but he would just have to deal with it. "And I want you to come to my office tomorrow when you're checked out," she added as she made her way out of the room. Naruto nodded to her as he lay on his bed trying to get comfortable. During the rest of the day he was visited by Jiraiya, Iruka, Kakashi, Shizen, Lee, Niji, Shikamaru and Choji, who stayed for a small chat until they left him to rest. He hadn't heard a thing from Sakura. Hokage office next day. Checking out of the hospital, Naruto made his way towards the Hokage tower. On the way there he noticed that nothing has changed. Despite his best efforts, people still glared at him with cold eyes, and he could still hear the hushed whispers of the demon brat being the reason why Sasuke left, or how the demon should have just died. He frowned at this for a second before putting the mask of the smiling idiot back on. He didn't want people to see it, but after all this time it still hurt. 13 years of this and nothing has changed. On the outside he wore a mask of a boy who didn't let anything get to him, but on the inside he was still a little boy crying for people to accept him. Why? I'm just like them, but they treat me like this, he thought to himself. That's the problem. You're not like them and you know it, you just don't want to accept it, a demonic voice said from his mind. Hearing this caused him to stop in his tracks. What? He asked as he found himself in the familiar sewers of his mind looking inside the cage hosting the nine-tailed fox. You heard me. You're nothing like these humans, but you refuse to accept what you really are, the fox said, grinning. I am human. Just wait until I prove you wrong when I earn their respect, he thought bitterly, not liking what the fox was saying. Hearing this, the fox couldn't help but laugh. You still don't get it. No matter what you do, the village will always show you as a demon, and deep down you know it. Instead of fighting them, you should just embrace it and become what they've always feared. Instead of fighting against me, you should fight with me. With you? What the hell are you talking about? I may be a giant demon, but even I know when someone takes things too far. And the way these villagers treat you, a child, is definitely crossing the line. Sounds like you care. Naruto pointed out, surprised at what the fox demon said. Guess spending all this time with you has made me a big old softer, the fox chuckled. Hearing this, Naruto couldn't help but find that amusing as well. Maybe, but what was this whole thing about fighting you? When you use my chakra, you aren't using its pure form, the fox explained, confusing the blonde. What are you talking about? When you use my chakra, you are using a converted version of it. That's why it hurts when you use it, since the tampered chakra has a double-edged sword effect. If you were to use it at its pure form, you would be able to use it without the pain. Pure form? Right, in its purest form it's called Yokai. It works just like chakra, but since you are human and because of the seal, it is converted into a form of chakra that is more suitable for you, but because it was altered, it has its drawbacks. How can I use it while it's still Yokai? By stop fighting me. Huh? The seal converts my Yokai, and the seal is like an extension of your will. The only reason you haven't been able to access my Yokai is because you've worked so hard to resist me. But there is a side effect. By using my Yokai, it is as if you are fusing with a part of me. And that means? That agreeing to fight with me by using my Yokai, you are pretty much agreeing to turning yourself into a kitsune-human hybrid. It's like a way to say you finally accepted that you will always be different. So you have two choices. Either you keep denying what you know is the truth and continue to live in a little fantasy world, or you accept it and stop living a lie. The fox explained as Naruto went silent, thinking over what the fox said. Just think about it, kid, but know this. You and I are going to be stuck together for some time, and I am sick of how these humans treat you. They have always called you a monster, but just think back to how they treated you and ask yourself who the real monster is. I guess, but why are you saying all his now? Like I said, you and I will be spending a lot of time together, so we might as well get along. The fox explained calmly. A clean start? Naruto thought. Thinking about it, the fox helped him out more than anyone, even if it was unintentional, or merely for its own survival. Its chakra saved him on more than one occasion. Also, since the fox was a part of him in a way, so that meant that it knew him better than anyone. He didn't want to admit it, but he knew what the fox said was true. People will most likely see the demon somewhere when they look at him, and even if he earns their respect, he will always remember how they treated him. Maybe he should listen to the fox. He sighed as he had a lot to think about. Since we're starting over, do you have a name, or should I just keep calling you Fox? He asked, accepting the fox demon's peace offer. The fox was silent, not expecting this question. None of his previous containers ever thought to ask him his name. He had a small smile as he thought about the changes that were sure to occur in their lives. My name's Kurama, he introduced. Well, Kurama, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. Nice to meet ya, Naruto said with a grin as he extended his arm, his fist pointed towards the large fox. Amused, Kurama reached out of the cage and bumped his larger fist with Naruto's. Things were definitely going to be more interesting. Ending the mind link, Naruto continued his way towards the Hokage's tower, as he kept replaying the fox's words. Hokage's office. Swanda looked up from her desk, massaging her temple. She was not going to enjoy this at all. She sighed as she looked at the people gathered in her room. Currently standing in her room was her teammate Jiraiya, her apprentice Shizen, and the rookie 12, minus Sasuke and Naruto, and their senseis. The group waited for the final member to join, expecting the blonde ninja to burst through the doors with a bundle of energy. They were surprised when Naruto quietly entered the room and were even more shocked when they saw a thoughtful expression on his face instead of his usual boyish grin. Getting over her shock, Tsunade cleared her throat to get everyone's attention so she could begin. As you know, Sasuke has, once again, left the village in an attempt to gain power for his revenge. Since you are from his generation, I thought it would appropriate to inform you of the situation. As of right now, Sasuke Uchiha is officially declared a missing nin. She explained. She expected a loud burst from two of the gathered people, but surprisingly there was only one. How can you say that, Hokage-sama? Sasuke-kun hasn't done anything wrong. Orikimura brainwashed him with that curse mark thing. Sakura cried, appalled at the idea of her beloved being branded as a traitor. How could they even think of something like this? She would have continued but noticed her blonde teammate was uncharacteristically quiet. Upset that he wasn't defending Sasuke like her, she confronted him. Naruto! Didn't you hear her? Say something, Baka! She yelled. Having the attention pointed at him, Naruto looked Tsunade straight in the eye. Kurama is right. It's time to grow up and stop living in a pretend world, he thought as he made his decision. Releasing a sigh, he asked the Hokage, Sasuke is now a missing nin. What are your orders? Everyone was surprised at his question. They expected him to be outraged and demand Tsunade to reverse the decision. Coming out of his stupor, Jiraiya stepped in to answer the question. According to my spies, we have about 3 years until Orochimaru can use his jutsu to take Sasuke's body, so we have some time until we have to make our move. Seeing as he is a missing nin, I assume he is wanted dead or alive, right? He asked again, shocking everyone. Naruto knew this wasn't how people usually saw him, but he was tired of this. Sasuke was given too many chances in his book, and he blew it by betraying the village, which is punishable by death. I'm afraid not. Seeing as he is one of the last 2 Uchiha, the council has ordered he be brought back alive in hopes of gaining his loyalty again, Tsunade said regrettably. Hearing this, Naruto couldn't help but scoff. Figures the council would do something like that for their precious Uchiha, he said in the coldest voice anyone ever heard from him. Naruto, how can you say that? Are you seriously thinking about killing Sasuke-kun? Sakura yelled enraged before a thought occurred, and she narrowed her eyes at the blonde. I get it. You're doing this because you're just jealous of him. It's probably that petty jealousy that made Sasuke-kun leave, she yelled in an accusing manner. It's always like this. No matter what, she only thinks of Sasuke and blames me for something. To think I thought ever that things in this village would change. Kurama was right. It's about time I stop pretending and accept that some things won't change, Naruto thought bitterly. Haruno, do us all a favor and shut up for once, he said, causing everyone's eyes to widen. They have never heard him talk to his precious Sakura-chan like that before. How dare you! The pinkette yelled as she went to punch the blonde. He caught her fist easily and stared at her with cold blue eyes. Troublesome, Shikamura muttered, but just as shocked as the others. Listen well, Haruno, the next time you decided to attack me, I will defend myself, he stated before shoving her hand away. Not liking this new attitude, she went for another punch, but Naruto sidestepped out of the way and punched her in the stomach. Her eyes widened as she fell on her knees, clutching her stomach in pain. Naruto! Kakashi shouted, seeing his 2 remaining students. I warned her, Kakashi-sensei. I was merely defending myself, he explained bluntly before turning his attention back to Tsunade. Is there anything else, Bachan? I'm afraid I have some bad news that concerns you, she said gravely as she addressed Naruto. This got his attention as he waited for her to continue. The council has some concerns about your unique situation, she said, with only him and the adults knowing what she meant. They would feel it best if you were suspended from your ninja duties for a year or so, she said, unable to look at him in the eyes. The room grew deathly silent as his words registered in everyone's mind. What? Naruto said quietly. They think it would be too dangerous for you to continue with all that has happened to you. They think you need a period of rest, she said, cursing inwardly. It was killing her to have to tell him this. Naruto, for his part, was seething in silence. He knew that this was nothing but a cover-up. He knew the council was afraid he would lose control of Kurama's chakra. He clenched his fist until his knuckles turned white. He was tired of this. The only thing he ever wanted was to prove he was loyal, and now they've taken his rights as a shinobi. That was the last straw. Enough was enough. He calmly walked over towards Tsunade's desk and silently took his forehead protector off. He took one final look at it before slamming it down on her desk, causing everyone to jump. They want me to have a period of rest. I'll do them one better. Think of this as my resignation, he said before turning around to take his leave. Naruto, wait. What are you doing? Tsunade asked, shocked. I decided, what's the point in serving a village that treats me like shit? I'm not going to betray the village and leave Konoha, but I'm done fighting for it, he said as he opened the door. What happened? Why are you acting like this all of a sudden? Jiraiya asked, concerned for his godson's attitude. Naruto stopped before he spared the room a final glance. What happened? I decided to stop pretending, he said cryptically before leaving the stunned group. 2 years later. Ever since Naruto stopped his shinobi duties, a lot has changed about him. Whenever anyone glared at him, he glared right back. The first few times he did this, the people were shocked. The demon brat never responded like that. People started to watch how they acted around him, realizing that if they push him too hard, he might push back harder, and that was something they definitely didn't want. Naruto rarely smiled in the village anymore. The only time he smiled was when he was at Ichiraku's, the privacy of his home, or the presence of his friends. Friends, they were another thing that changed. Ever since he returned his forehead protector, he rarely saw the Rookie 12, technically the Rookie 10 now. During these 2 years, the only ones to visit, when they weren't on missions, were Shikamaru, Choji, Niji, Lee, Iruka, and Kakashi. He also received a visit from Jiraiya when he returned to the village, and received a call from the Hokage so he could catch up with Tsunade and Shizun. No one else even thought about visiting him. If they ever saw him on the streets, they would avoid looking at him and continue on as if they never saw him. Every now and then they would try to persuade him to become a shinobi again, but he would always tell them he wanted to try a peaceful life, hoping to find a purpose in life. The biggest change, though, was his relationship with Kurama. They started off a little rough due to their past interactions, but pretty soon they started to form a close bond. Since Naruto was no longer a registered shinobi, he couldn't use the training fields anymore. He trained within his mindscape. Kurama taught him how to utilize his Yuki, and as time passed he felt the changes within him. He felt the demonic energy mix with his own as his body changed. His blue eyes were still the same intense blue, but now had black slits down the middle. His ears shifted to fox ears that poked through his hair, Y grew past his ears, that were a red-orange color, and a foxtail of the same color. He was explained that the amount of tails a kitsune had was a testament of his power, with 9 being the highest. He learned how to use his Yuki to hide his fox-like attributes. While in the mindscape, he endured rigorous training. He learned that he had 2 chakra affinities. His natural affinity was wind. He learned a few techniques, but his favorite was surrounding his claws with wind chakra, increasing their power. His second affinity was fire, thanks to his kitsune half. Kitsunes were a natural when it came to fire, and having Kurama, who was considered a god amongst the kitsune, as a teacher was a definite help. He also trained on controlling Kurama's Yuki, now able to control 3 tails worth of it. His body and mind were not strong enough to handle anymore without suffering from a type of overload that could cause serious problems. Naruto and Kurama started off with a teacher-student relationship, but as time passed by it soon evolved to a relationship close to that of brothers. It was interesting, really. Once Naruto stopped blaming Kurama, and once Kurama stopped trying to corrupt Naruto, the two found out that they rather enjoyed each other's company. They still annoyed each other now. Kurama could be rather sarcastic, and Naruto knew just what buttons to push to get the fox all riled up, but it was nice. The only thing that bothered Naruto was that he was tired. He was tired of this village. He didn't regret his decision. though he was a little sad that it caused the few people who still talked to him to frown whenever he refused to come back. He wanted to leave the village for a bit. He wanted to explore the world and try some new things, hoping to find some happiness that he couldn't find in the village that hated him. The answer came to him one day when he was going through his mail. He found an interesting letter from out of the village. Curious, he read it, and his eyes widened at what he read. Dear Uzumaki, I am pleased to inform you that you are invited to join Yokai Academy. By attending this school, not only will you receive an education, you will also gain once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. Please note that Yokai Academy is a boarding school, so you will be living there most of the year if you choose to join. By attending this school, not only will it help choose your path for your future, it will also give you the opportunity to interact with people from around the world. Please tell us your decision. The school year will begin in about 3 months. Tenmei Mikigami, the headmaster. Hey, what do you think, Kurama? Naruto thought curiously. Kurama read the letter through Naruto, and to be honest, he was just as interested as his container. We wanted to find a way to leave the village to see the world. This seems like the best opportunity. He mused. You're right. I'm not crazy about the whole school thing, but it sounds interesting. Guess we better talk to Tsunade-ba-chan. He thought as he made his way out of the apartment, heading towards the Hokage's office. Hokage's office. Once he made sure Tsunade was not in a meeting, Naruto entered her office. Once in, he saw the Hokage herself, Shizen and Jiraiya. The three looked up to see Naruto enter the room. They saw that he had a serious look on his face and frowned. Whenever he had that look, they knew that whatever he had to say was important. Hey Bachan, pervy sage, Shizen-ichan, I have something to ask you, he said as he took his seat in front of them. And what would that be? Tsunade asked curiously. Naruto pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to her. Raising an eyebrow, she took it silently as she read the contents. Shizen and Jiraiya watched as her eyebrows rose higher and higher until she looked away from the letter and looked at Naruto. She handed Jiraiya the letter as he lowered it so both he and Shizen could read it. Once finished, they were both looking at Naruto just as surprised. Naruto, why are you showing this to us? Tsunade asked, not wanting to believe what she was thinking. I think you know Bachan. I would like to go, he said seriously. He knew they would be sad about him leaving, and truth be told, he would miss them too, but this was an opportunity that he couldn't miss. Why? Jiraiya asked. Like the others, he was hoping that Naruto would decide to become a shinobi again, but with this it seemed like a lost cause. Honestly, because my whole life I have been stuck in this village. I have been stuck in this village where adults hate me and teach their children to ignore me. Besides you three, Kakashi-sensei, Iruka-sensei, Lee, Shikamaru, Choji, and Niji, I'm all alone. He hasn't told anyone about his relationship with Kurama. By going to this school, it would give me a chance to see a world outside the village, a chance to interact with people my age who haven't been raised to ignore me, a chance to leave all this hatred. I'm not going to be gone forever, but it could be nice to live a different lifestyle for a while, he explained. The three shinobi listened to him and couldn't help but agree. This could be a great opportunity for him. I see. I'm not crazy about the idea of you leaving the village, but you've given a reasonable argument. Alright Naruto, you can attend this school, but there are 2 conditions, Tsunade said. What are they? He asked, figuring that there would be some conditions he had to follow by. I want you to keep contact with us via Toad summons, she stated. Okay. He agreed easily. Second, I want you to enjoy yourself while you're there, she said, smiling. The village won't be the same without you, but hey, this could be your chance to have the life you deserved, Jiraiya added with a smile. Thank you, Naruto said, smiling. Go mail them your answer and get things settled. I'll take care of the paperwork needed for your departure, Tsunade said. Naruto nodded and thanked them again before leaving as he started his preparations for his departure. 3 months later. During the 3 months, Naruto packed everything of value to him. Once he left, he knew his landlord would sell his apartment the next day, so he made sure to bring anything important to him. He told his friends his decision, and although they were sad he was leaving, they supported his decision. Naruto didn't bother telling anyone else. He knew the word about his leaving would spread and that they would celebrate, but he didn't really care. His last night in Konoha, he had one final meal at Ichiraka's and thanked them for everything they'd done for him. The morning of his departure, Naruto left his apartment and took a deep breath. Today was the day. Once graduating from the academy, he thought he was done with everything school-related, and yet here he was willingly going to a distant school. As he was walking, he couldn't help but frown at his uniform. A white collared shirt, brown pants, and a green blazer. The only good thing about it was that he managed to find an orange tie. As he approached the village gates, he saw a few familiar faces. "You didn't think we'd let you leave without seeing you off, did you?" Kakashi asked as he put away his little orange book. "Actually, that's exactly what I thought," Naruto said sheepishly. "And I thought you knew us better than that," Iruka teased with a sad smile. "Naruto, it is sad to see that this village has doused your flames of youth, but hopefully they will reignite at his new school of yours," Lee said, giving his signature nice guy pose. "Just promise me that you'll never lose your flames of youth, Lee." Naruto chuckled as he extended his arm. "Of course not, and I look forward to your return, my eternal rival," the green spandex ninja said as he shook Naruto's hand. Neji was next to walk up. "When we first met, I let my misguided beliefs affect how I acted. That was a very rough part of my life, and it is thanks to you beating the truth into me that I was able to get over it. I hope you find what you are looking for on your journey, my friend," Neji said as he bowed in respect. "I hope so too. Keep up the good work, Neji. I know one day you'll reunite you clan's main and branch family," Naruto said as he too bowed to his friend. "You were the best ramen eating partner ever. It won't be the same without you," Choji said, a sad smile on his face. "Yeah, make sure to visit Ichiraka's. Don't let their gift to the world be unappreciated. I'll make sure they put a plaque up in your honor," Choji said, chuckling softly before shaking Naruto's hand. "Making me wake up this early. I knew you were troublesome," Shikamaru said, smiling. "Stop wasting your smarts by being a lazy ass and actually do something," Naruto joked. "Too troublesome. Still can't believe you're willingly going to a school," Shikamaru taunted with humor. "You and me both, but here we are. Try not to cause too much trouble at your new school." "Who, me?" Naruto asked innocently. The two shared a laugh before giving their final came up next. "I'm sad to see you go. You're the reason Tsunade-sama and I are even in the village," she said as she hugged the blonde. "I don't know if I've ever shown it, but I am very thankful for you, Shizen-ichin. Thank you for being my sister," Naruto said, hugging her tightly. "Thank you for being my brother," she said as she released her hold and wiped a few tears. Kakashi was the next who walked up. "Kakashi-sensei, guess this is goodbye, huh?" "Yeah, listen, Naruto, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to teach you much," he began, but Naruto held a hand up signaling him to stop. "Don't worry, Kakashi-sensei, you taught me enough," he reassured. "Here's a little going-away present," he said, handing a small box to the blonde. "Thanks for everything, sensei," he said as Kakashi rubbed his head affectionately. He turned his attention to Tsunade and Jiraiya. "Although I met you guys later than everyone else, I want to thank you. I never had parents, but you two were like the mother and father I never had." Hearing this, Tsunade hugged the boy tight as she smiled with a few tears fell down. She was glad that Naruto felt that way about her. Never having children, she often thought the blonde knucklehead as her own son. Jiraiya was having similar thoughts. "I'll miss you, brat. Don't forget to give us a message every now and then," Tsunade said as she kissed his head before releasing him from their embrace. "Here you go, brat. Don't open it until you settle in your new place," the Toad Sage said as he gave 3 scrolls to Naruto. "Thank you. I'll miss you both," he said softly. Iruka reached into his pocket and handed something to Naruto. "I know that you're technically not a shinobi anymore, but you will always be one in my eyes, little brother," he said as Naruto looked at the forehead protector. The one Iruka gave him when he graduated and then gave to Tsunade. Clutching it tightly in his hands, Naruto jumped at the older man and hugged him tight as a few tears found its way down his cheeks. "Iruka-sensei, I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me. I love you, thank you so much," he said as he hugged the man he saw as an older brother and the first person to ever acknowledge him. Irika couldn't help but cry a little himself. After the hug, they both wiped the tears away before sharing a similar smile. "Guess this is goodbye," he said as a bus arrived. The door opened and he walked inside before taking one more look when he heard Jiraiya call out. "Hey brat, while you're there try and find yourself a nice girl," he said with a smirk as a blush found its way on Naruto's face. "Yeah, I want some grandchildren to spoil." Tsunade added, her smile growing as the blush on his face grew to his ears. Shut up," he yelled, embarrassed as he heard the laughter before the door closed. He turned his attention to the bus driver but couldn't get a good look since his hat shadowed his eyes. "Going to Yokai Academy, huh? It's a pretty scary place, you know?" the bus driver said with an eerie voice. "Maybe, but I can be pretty scary myself," Naruto replied with a grin as he made his way to his seat. "Looks like we're on our way," Kurama's voice said through the mental link between the two of them. "Looks like it," Naruto agreed as he rested his head against the seat and closed his eyes. This was it. He left Konoha and now he was starting a whole new chapter in his life. Chapter 2: The Human, the Vampire Twins and the Fox. Tsukun Ono was sitting on a bench waiting for the bus to Yokai Academy to arrive. He was a totally average student with nothing that made him stand out. He had failed his high school entrance exam and had no choice but to attend this school that was in the middle of nowhere. He had no idea how his parents even found out about it. He heard the sound of a running engine and looked to see a bus stop in front of him. Sighing, he stood up and entered the bus as the doors opened. "So, you're attending Yokai Academy, huh?" the bus driver said, his hat shadowing his eyes. Yeah, I am," Tsukun said while scratching his cheek sheepishly. "Well, you better find a seat. I can guarantee that you've never been on a ride like this before," the bus driver said, chuckling. "All right then," he said nervously as he surveyed the bus. He was all alone except for one other boy who appeared to be his age. He wore the same uniform as him but with an orange tie, and he had short, spiky blonde hair. He couldn't see his eyes because the blonde seemed to be sleeping, but the strangest thing he noticed was that the boy appeared to have marks that looked like whiskers on his cheeks. He began to walk to a seat when the blonde began to stir. Rubbing the sleep out of his eyes, he looked around to reveal blue eyes. The blonde seemed to notice that he was no longer alone as he stared at Tsukun. "Yo," he said, waving lazily before yawning as he stretched his stiff muscles. "Hello, I'm guessing you're a student too," Tsukun guessed as he motioned towards the identical uniform. Noticing this, the blonde smiled a little before nodding. "Yeah, first year," he said as Tsukun sat in the seat in front of him. "Me too, I'm Tsukun Ono by the way," he introduced. "Name's Naruto Uzumaki," the blonde responded as he stuck out his arm, which Tsukun shook. The two of them started a conversation trying to get to know one another. Nero learned that Tsukun seemed to lack confidence in himself, as he repeatedly referred to himself as average or nothing special, but other than that seemed like a good person. Tsukun learned that Naruto was a bit guarded about some subjects like family and his home, but didn't say anything since everyone had their secrets. The one thing that the blonde talked enthusiastically about though was ramen. How he could about ramen that much though was a mystery to him. Tsukun rather liked the blonde. He seemed like a very energetic person but knew when to be serious. He was glad to have made a friend so soon. He had thought he would be alone during his time at the academy. Naruto was also pleased. Tsukun was his first friend in this new chapter of his life, and he wasn't judged or anything by the brown-haired boy. The one thing he found odd though was that he couldn't detect an ounce of chakra in his boy. That was very strange. Even if he was just a civilian, he should have some residue of chakra in him somewhere. He made a mental note to look into that later on. Suddenly the bus began to shake violently. They looked out the window to see that they just entered a tunnel. "You two better get ready," the bus driver said, gaining their attention. "As soon as we exit this tunnel, we'll be at the front of the school," he finished before turning back to them, showing his glowing eyes. "And a little warning, Yokai Academy is a very scary school," he said as he began to laugh. "What's with this guy?" Tsukun thought as he began to sweat. The look in the bus driver's eyes and the way he spoke really freaked the poor boy out. Naruto, who had recovered from the bus's sudden shaking, just stared blankly at the man. He's gonna have to do better than that if he wants to scare me, he thought before the demonic voice of Kurama entered his mind. True, but can you imagine if his guy and the scarred-up guy from the Chunin exams worked together? He asked curiously. Naruto thought back to Ibiki and his exam and the way the bus driver acted. You're right, they'd be able to scare the crap out of anyone, he answered as the bus came to a stop. Well, here we are, the bus driver said as he opened the door. Both Naruto and Sukun grabbed their bags as they made their way out. Once outside, they looked at their surroundings and were surprised, not expecting what was in front of them. A good distance away they could see the school, but they also saw lightning flash behind it like in the horror movies, and there were a few dead trees around with some crows staring at them. Will you two better be careful, the bus driver said casually before driving away, leaving the two boys behind. Getting out of his stupor first, he yelled out at the retreating bus. Wait a minute! What kind of place is this? He shouted, but was answered with silence. He took another look at his surroundings, slightly shivering. This is where we're going to school. It's like another world compared to outside the tunnel. He said more to himself, but Naruto heard him. Another world? That could explain why I can't feel chakra from Tsukun and why I've never seen a place like this. Also, some of the cities we passed on the way looked way too advanced compared to Konoha. What do you think, Kurim? It could be possible. Most people would probably call you crazy for suggesting something like that, but I really don't have any right to believe that. Why? He asked curiously. In his mind he saw the giant fox stare at him blankly. I've learned that nothing is impossible. The fact that I happen to be a giant demon fox sealed inside a 15-year-old boy kinda proves that nicely, Kurama explained dryly. Oh right, guess you kinda have a point. Well, we'll figure things out later on, Naruto thought before closing their mental link. He turned his attention back to Tsukuna, who looked like he would have a panic attack any minute now. Well, we might as well get going, he said, clapping the brown-haired boy's back as he headed towards the school. Why, yeah, I guess so, Tsukun responded as he followed the blonde, inwardly crying anime tears thinking about how much he suddenly missed his home. The two of them followed the pathway towards the school, but Naruto was already feeling bored. So Tsukun, wanna play I Spy? He asked, hands behind his head. Hearing this caused Tsukun to sweat drop. We're walking through a dead forest heading to a school that looks like a haunted house, and he wants to play I Spy. Sure, why not? He asked with a sigh. Grinning, Naruto began to look around the area. I spy with my little eye, he started as his eyes kept searching. Up towards the side he was able to see something approaching quickly, them, something pink. Something pink. He finished, earning a confused frown from Tsukun. Where on earth did Naruto see something pink in an area that looked like the home for the dead? Sighing, he began to look around in hopes of finding what Naruto spied. So focused on this task, he did not see a person running towards him from the one direction he was not looking. I don't see any, he started, but was interrupted when he felt a force rash into him. Naruto, who stopped walking, watched the scene amused. He kept silent as a pink-haired girl ran towards them, not paying attention to her surroundings. As Tsukun kept looking around for whatever Naruto spied, he did not notice the girl until she crashed right into him, causing them both to fall to the ground. He began to snicker when he saw the dazed expression on the confused Tsukun. What hit me? He asked groggily. A pretty girl, but I gotta say, Tsukun, you're much bolder than I gave you credit for, Naruto said, unable to hide the mirth in his voice. Not understanding what he meant, Tsukun looked at the blonde questioningly, only to see Naruto pointing. Following the direction of his finger, his eyes widened as a blush covered his face, his body frozen in place. On top of him was a beautiful girl his age with long pink hair and bright green eyes. She was definitely the most attractive girl that Tsukun has ever met in his life. The thing that caused him to freeze, though, was the position of his hand, which rested on the girl's thigh. Are you okay? He asked shakily as he inwardly panicked. Oh my God! She's going to kill me! It might help if you moved your hand, Naruto decided to add helpfully. Hearing this caused Tsukun to blush even more as he quickly removed his hand as if he touched something that burned him. What happened? The girl asked as she rubbed her head before looking at her surroundings. She blinked as she noticed the brown-haired boy. Oh, hello, she said happily with a cheerful smile, oblivious to their position. Hi, was the only thing Tsukun could think to say after seeing her radiant smile. Naruto just remained silent as he watched the scene in front of him. It was pretty good, if only he had some ramen to eat while watching. Oh no! You're bleeding! The girl pointed out, and indeed there was a small cut on Tsukun's cheek, leaving a small trail of blood. Reaching into her pocket, she pulled out a handkerchief to clean the cut but froze when an intoxicating scent invaded her sense of smell. The smell, blood, I can't, she said as if stuck in a trance. The two boys watched shocked as she snuggled more into Tsukun's chest. I lose myself whenever I smell that scent, she explained as she moved her face closer to Tsukun's. What's happening? Tsukun thought, blushing furiously. Damn, who knew foreign girls were so bold? Not even Sasuke's old fangirls were this bold. Naruto mused. I'm sorry, but I'm really hungry, she said before she bit down into his neck and began to suck his blood. The forest was silent as the two boys stared blankly before her actions caught up to them. Eeh! Tsukun screamed as the girl released her hold on him before getting off of him. She stood up and dusted herself as Tsukun became frantic. Naruto stared at them confused. Could this be how people from outside the village greet each other? He thought to himself as he watched his hysterical friend and the girl who had an extremely pleased look on her face. Why, you sucked my blood! Tsukun screamed as he clasped his hand over the bite mark. I'm sorry, it's just I couldn't control myself. You see, I'm a vampire, she explained nervously. The two boys looked at her shocked. Vampire? What is she talking about? Tsukun thought worriedly. Vampire? There's no way those exist, Naruto thought before he heard his tenant's voice. Like I said, you have a giant fox demon sealed inside you. Kinda proves almost anything is possible, Kurama said dryly. Right, forgot about that. Naruto chuckled sheepishly while Kurama groaned in exasperation. Before Naruto could respond to her, another voice interrupted them. Oh Moat! I told you not to run off like that, a voice called out. They turned around to see another girl around the same age as them. She looked a lot like the other girl, but instead of a cute innocent look, like the pink-haired girl had, this one had a more proud, mature, sexy look. She had long silver hair and red eyes. Overall, Naruto thought she looked stunning. Sorry, Yuri-chan, but I thought we would be late, so I ran. The pink-haired girl, who was now known as Omote, explained. Apparently these two girls knew each other. That is no excuse, Omote. There's no telling what kind of scum that could be lurking around here. The other girl, now identified as Yura, said, not finding Omote's excuse acceptable. I'd really hate to interrupt this moment, but we're still on the topic of you being a vampire, Naruto said, gaining the two girls' attention. Yeah, like blood-sucking monsters that hate garlic, crosses, and stuff? Tsukun added. You told them? Yura asked with a raised eyebrow. I sorta had to after sucking his blood, Omote explained sheepishly, pointing at Tsukun. You actually sucked blood from another living being? Yura asked, surprised. Yeah, he was bleeding, and once I smelt it I just couldn't help myself, Omote said, blushing. You have to control yourself better, Yura scolded. But Yuri-chan, it smelled so good, Omote whined. Excuse me? We're still kind of in the dark here, Naruto pointed out, addressing Tsukun and himself. And just who are you anyway? Yura asked, though she looked like she could care less about them. You know it's impolite to ask for someone's name without introducing themselves first, Naruto said with a raised eyebrow. How dare you talk to me like that? Don't you know who I am? Yura asked with narrowed eyes. No, I don't know who you are. That's why I said you should introduce yourself first, Naruto replied smoothly while Yura's eye began to twitch. I'm a vampire. That should be more than enough reason for you to show me respect, the silver-haired girl said through gritted teeth. You could be a vampire, a demon, or the tooth fairy for all I care, but respect is earned, not given, Naruto said as he crossed his arms. Before Yura could retort, Omote decided to cut in before things got too out of hand. I'm sorry. My name is Omote Mocha Akashiya. And this is my twin. She introduced politely before pointing to the silver-haired girl who sighed. I'm Yura Mocha Akashiya, she said, crossing her arms before glaring at the blonde. Now that we've introduced ourselves, will you tell us who you are? Well, since you asked so nicely, Naruto replied, rolling his eyes before grinning. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, first-year student of Yokai Academy. I'm Tsukunono. I'm also a first-year student. Oh, so are we! Omote exclaimed excitingly while Yura looked on uninterested. So back on to our earlier topic. Naruto started as he looked at the twins. Since you're sisters and you pretty much bragged about it, then you're a vampire too? Yes, I am, Yura said, looking at the blonde. Why, do you hate vampires? Omote asked, suddenly overcome with a feeling of nervousness. Yura looked at the two boys, the look in her eyes telling them that they better say the right thing or they will suffer a lot. Of course not. Vampires are awesome, Sukun said nervously while Naruto got into a thinking pose. The other three waited for his answer until he was grinning at the two girls. Can't say that I do, since I never met any vampires before, but if all vampires are as cute as you two, they can't be that bad, he answered. Omote blushed at the compliment, but smiled that these two didn't hate her or her sister. Yura, on the other hand, felt her right eye twitch. I am a proud and strong warrior of the elite vampire race. I am not cute, she said, annoyed. Naruto looked at her with a raised eyebrow before smiling at the pink-haired vampire. Hey Omote, I didn't think your sister was the shy types when receiving compliments, he said. Omote looked surprised that someone would tease her sister but couldn't stop the giggle that escaped her. Sukun looked nervous as he saw Yura clench her fist, her body shaking in rage. I am not being shy, Yura said, only for the blonde to respond by giving her a fox-like grin. Denying it only makes you look cuter, Yura-chan, he responded. Omote watched shocked as a light pink hue appeared on Yura's cheeks, but she was the only one who noticed. She smiled to herself. This was very new. Since you don't hate us, would you like to be friends? Omote asked. Sure, Sukun said, glad that a cute girl like her would actually want to be friends with him. I'd love to be friends. Sounds like fun, right, Yura-chan? Naruto asked the silver-haired vampire. It was my sister who wanted to be friends, not me. And who gave you the right to call me Yura-chan? She asked, annoyed. Don't worry, you'll grow to love being friends with me, and I gave myself the right to call you Yura-chan, he answered while Yura did her best to ignore him. This is great. I was afraid we wouldn't make any since we didn't know anybody else, Omote said, relieved. We better hurry or else we'll miss the entrance ceremony, Sukun said as they made their way to the school. Naruto's room. After the entrance ceremony, the students had some time before they had to go to homeroom. Deciding to put some of his stuff away, Naruto separated from his friends and headed for his dorm room. He was not surprised to see his room was nicer than his apartment back at Konoha. He smiled to himself. Going to school would definitely be a nice change of pace compared to his treatment at the village. He had just summoned a toad to deliver a message to Tsunade saying he got here safe and that although school didn't start yet, he already made some friends. He told her that he'd miss her and the others and promised to keep in touch. After the toad disappeared, he remembered that he had some gifts he still didn't open. He opened the gift from Kakashi first and smiled at what he saw. Inside the small box was a pair of small silver bells tied together. The same bells from his genin test. On it was a note. Hey Naruto. When we first met, you had to prove to me that you were a capable genin by taking one of these bells from me. It may seem a little cheesy, but me giving them to you is supposed to be symbolic. By giving them to you, you are not proving anything, but rather I am acknowledging you not as a simple genin but a full-fledged shinobi who I was proud to call a teammate. I hope you enjoy your time at this new school and hopefully you won't forget about you, old sensei. Kakashi. How could I forget you, sensei? You gave me so many headaches with those stupid excuses. Plus, always being 2 hours late for everything is kind of hard to forget, he said to himself, chuckling. He was really touched by the gift and what it meant. He opened one of the scrolls Jiraiya gave him to see they were for storage. Undoing the seal, his sweat dropped when he saw every Ika book ever published, and a few that have yet to be released. Hey Gaki. Now that you're a little older, you might be able to appreciate these works of art. Hell, who knows, you might be the successor after I kick the bucket. Hope you enjoy these. The Great Toad Sage Jiraiya. P.S. Don't tell Tsunade about this, or I might kick the bucket a lot sooner than expected. Stupid perv. Naruto muttered, chuckling before undoing the seal on the second scroll. He face-faulted when he saw it was another collection of Ika with another note. Remember, Gaki. It's always a good idea to have a backup. You never know what could happen, and it would be a shame if anything happened to your originals just when you have found an interest in them. And I thought he would actually give me something useful. I swear if the third one is another set of his books, I'll kill him, he said as he unsealed the last scroll, but was surprised when small box appeared instead. There was a note attached to it. Gaki. When the time comes that you appreciate the beauty of the female body, the last thing we need at the moment are mini versions of you running around, so use these wisely. Confused, he opened the box only to have a blush cover his face. He flung the box away and watched as the contents fell to the ground. I'm gonna kill him. Who the hell gives a 15-year-old boy a box filled with condoms as a going-away present? He muttered. Konoha. Sure, hope you enjoy those gifts, Gaki. Jiraiya chuckled before making his way towards the women's bath area. Yokai Academy? Getting lost in his memories, Naruto didn't realize that he was running late after he made some alterations to his uniform. The 2 silver bells now hung at his side from his belt loop. Figuring that wearing a headband was against school dress code, he adjusted his forehead protector to act like a belt buckle. Running down the halls, he finally made it to his homeroom. Taking a moment to catch his breath, he knocked on the door before entering. Sorry I'm late, but I got lost on the road of life, he said, taking a page out of Kakashi's book. The teacher looked confused at his excuse. Okay, don't let it happen again, she said, unsure. No problem, he trailed off, silently asking for her name. Shizuka Nikonome, I'm your homeroom teacher. Got it, won't happen again, Nikonome-sensei, the blonde said before looking for a seat. Over here, Naruto, a voice called out. He turned to see 3 familiar faces. Sitting by the windows was Yura. To her right was her sister Omote, who was the one who called him. In front of her was Tsukun Ono, and the seat to the left of Tsukun was vacant. Omote-chan, Yura-chan, Tsukun. What's up? He said as he made his way to the vacant seat. On his way, he heard a few of the male students whisper. How does he know those 2 goddesses? One of them asked. First that brown-haired wimp and now this loser? How dare those 2 think they're worthy enough to talk to them? Naruto simply ignored them as he took his seat in front of Yura and next to Tsukun. Isn't this great, Yura-chan? Both Naruto and Tsukun are in class with us, Omote said, happy that she has homeroom with her 2 new friends. Oh joy, be still my beating heart, Yura said with half-lidded eyes. I miss you too, Yura-chan, Naruto said, grinning. I told you not to call me that. She snapped, a tick mark forming on her head. If you say so, Yuraheim, he said before turning to talk with Tsukun, therefore missing the light blush that appeared on her cheeks. Omote, though, saw the whole thing and smiled. She was glad Yura met a friend like Naruto, and couldn't wait to tease her later on. Now, as I was saying, I'll be your homeroom teacher for the year. I think you already know this, but Yokai Academy is a school for monsters, Nikonome said. The class looked bored at hearing this except for 2 students. Monsters? What is she talking about? Tsukun thought as Nikonome began to talk about coexisting with humans. Monsters? Didn't see that one coming, Naruto mused. You seem to be talking the news pretty well, Kurama commented. It's kind of funny that Konoha has always called me a monster, and now that I leave I end up at a school for monsters. Kami's funny like that, the fox demon said as Nikonome finished explaining the purpose and rules of the school. The talk ended just in time for Naruto to hear one of the students speak. Sensei, couldn't we just eat the weak humans and rape the girls? A student asked smugly, causing Tsukun to panic and Naruto to snort. You got a problem? The student asked, hearing him. Sorry, my doctor told me not to talk to smug bastards. I might catch their arrogance, he said, not even looking at the student, causing him to glare at the blonde. Settle down. Like I was saying, since this is a secret and sacred world, if any humans appear here, they will be killed on the spot, the teacher explained, causing Naruto to frown and raise his hand. Yes? She asked. How does killing humans teach us how to coexist with them? He asked, causing the room to fall silent under his logic. I'm not sure, but that has been the policy since before I started teaching. Nikino wondered now that she thought about it. Homeroom continued on until the bell rang. Omode had her arms around the arm of a blushing Tsukun who looked like he would pass out at any moment. Walking behind them was Yura with her arms crossed and Naruto with his hands folded behind his head, ignoring the jealous stares of the other male students. Omode was taking in her surroundings while talking excitingly, and Tsukun could only nod dumbly. Seeing this caused Naruto to snicker. Looks like Omode-chan and Tsukun are getting pretty close, Naruto commented. Too close if you asked me, Yura said. It looks like someone is an overprotective sister, Naruto teased. Shut up. It's just that Omode is too nice for her own good sometimes, Yura huffed. Just then another student approached them. You two are Omode and Yura Akashiya, right? I'm Saiza Komiya, a pleasure to meet you, he said while staring hungrily at the two girls. Naruto recognized him as the one who suggested eating the humans. Some of the jealous onlookers recognized him and began to back away, remembering the rumors they heard about him. But why would a pair of beautiful ladies like yourselves be associated with a pair of losers like these two? He asked as he lifted Tsukun by his collar. Wouldn't you rather hang out with a guy like me? How about we go where the three of us can have some fun? He asked, licking his lips. Naruto reached into his blazer, where he attached his shuriken holster to, and pulled out a kunai. He threw the kunai, cutting Saiza's cheek. Surprised, the bully dropped Tsukun to the ground before glaring at Naruto. What are you doing? He asked darkly as he released his killer intent, thinking he would be able to scare this blonde punk. Some of the students felt the ki and shook a little in fear, but it appeared to have no effect on Naruto. Please, if you want to scare me, then you're going to have to do better than that, Naruto scoffed before releasing enough ki of his own to match Saiza's. Before the two got into a fight, Omode interrupted them. I'm sorry, but my sister and I are having fun with Tsukun and Naruto, Omode said before turning to Naruto. Please don't fight. I wouldn't want you to get in trouble because of us, she pleaded. Seeing the look in her eyes, Naruto just sighed. Alright, I won't fight him, he told her before glaring at Saizu. This time, but if I see you messing with my friends again, and even Kami won't be able to protect you from me, he threatened before Omode dragged him and Tsukun away with Yura following behind. I'll let you go for now, but I never let a woman that I've set my eyes on escape, Saiza said as he watched them leave. The four of them made it to an empty corridor of the building. Tsukun was a little shaken up from the whole ordeal. Omode was worried about him, while Yura looked at Naruto curiously. She knew that someone like Saiza had no chance against her in a fight, and would never let him touch her or her sister, but she was impressed that he didn't back down from Saiza but instead confronted him. Are you guys alright? That was a little scary, Omode asked. I'm fine. Thanks for helping me, Naruto, Tsukun said. Should've just let me kicked his ass, Naruto grumbled, and if you looked closely it would appear that he was pouting about not being able to fight that bully. After a while of just walking, Tsukun finally asked what was on his mind. Why? Why are you guys so friendly with me? I'm just an average person. If you waned, you could probably hang out with just about anyone at this school, so why me? He asked, wondering why they would want to be friends with a human. Shut up, Tsukun. Do you know how hard it is for me to make friends? I ain't letting you off the hook that easily, Naruto answered. My sister is fond of you, so I will tolerate you, came Yura's simple answer. Besides, you're not just some random average guy. We're on blood-sucking terms, Omode said, blushing at the end, causing Tsukun to face fault. What the hell does that mean? Naruto muttered to himself. You should be proud. You have the tastiest blood that I've ever had, so much better than the blood I get from the packets, Omode continued. Am I just food? Sukun wailed. Plus, you were my first. Omote continued, her face going redder. Hearing this caused the two boys' eyes to widen. Naruto, being Naruto though, couldn't stop himself from teasing the poor boy. Hear that, Sukun? You're her first, so make sure you take responsibility, he said with a grin, causing the boy to blush. What are you talking about? He shouted. I'm so embarrassed now, Omote said before lightly shoving him. This resulted in Sukun to be impacted into the wall, crying comically while Naruto laughed his ass off. Even Yura had an amused smirk on her face. Let's go explore the rest of the academy, she cheered as she headed for the door, followed by her sister. Oh, okay, Sukun said weakly as a still laughing Naruto pried him off the wall. She is insanely strong, never piss her off. They continued to explore until they came to the dorm building. Seeing the creepy building caused Sukun to freak out, but Omote absolutely loved it. Are we looking at the same building? He asked. How on earth am I going to survive at this school? Are you kidding? This place has so much character, Omote praised. It will do, Yura added. Seeing the boy, Naruto decided to help. Relax, Sukun, I've already been in the rooms and they're pretty nice. Hell, it's way nicer than my apartment back home. I think it's a perfect place for a monster. Speaking of which, what type of monster are you two? Omote asked curiously. Damn it! Should I tell them I'm human? But wouldn't they have to kill me? Sukun panicked. Sorry, Omote-chan, but it's against rules to tell you no that the school year started, Naruto pointed out. He had no problem with telling them he was Kitsune, but he was unsure of what would happen since he was still part human. He could also tell that Sukun was human by his reactions to the different parts of school. Yura also knew that Sukun was human, his scent reeked human, but kept silent. Like she said earlier, she would tolerate the boy simply because her sister was fond of him. But she had no idea how Omote didn't know, considering she had some of his blood. Naruto she was curious about though. She could smell human from him, but there was something else. She didn't want to admit it, but the blonde caught her interest. What was he exactly? Oh, you're right. Wouldn't want you guys to get in trouble, sorry, Omote said, slapping her head. I have a question, but since I didn't answer yours, feel free to ignore mine, Naruto suddenly said, getting their attention. You two said you're vampires, how come I don't feel any energy from you? Oh, that's easy. You see these rosaries? They act like a limiter that hides our powers. Once we take them off, our vampire full powers are released, Omote explained, pointing to the matching rosaries that both twins were wearing around their necks before leaning into Sukun. Wow, matching rosaries, and your names kinda match too, Naruto said. Yes, our mother thought it would be cute, since we're twins, Yura said with a sigh. But even sealed, we still need our blood, she said before biting into his neck, causing Sukun to scream. The group separated and Naruto decided to lounge on a tree branch and spend the time in one of his friend's favorite hobbies, cloud watching. So you really gonna stay here? Kurama asked suddenly. Well, I lived with humans for so long, and you know how that turned out. I figured I'd see how living with monsters would be like. You mean monsters and a human? The fox pointed out. Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on Sukun, he inwardly sighed. But still, he considered the boy a friend, and he always protected his friends. Heads up, we have company, Kurama said just as the tree Naruto was blasted away. Naruto flipped through the air and landed on his feet gracefully. He looked to see that Saiza was the one who punched the tree out of the ground. That wasn't really nice. I was just getting comfortable, Naruto said as he pulled out a kunai and spun it around his finger. I already warned that weakling Ono, so I'll get you a warning too. Stay away from the Akashiya sisters, Saiza said, ignoring the blonde. Who's going to stop me if I chose not to? He asked, bored. Me, the bully said with a smirk. If that's the case, then I'll definitely stick around them. I wouldn't miss the opportunity to kick your ass for the world, the blonde said, smirking at Saiza's growing annoyance. You'd get one warning only, punk, he said, walking away before Naruto called after him. And you'll get one warning. Mess with my friends and I'll kill you, he said with a demonic tone in the end that shocked Saiza for a bit. Regaining his composure, the bully scoffed and retreated. That was impressive, a familiar voice said. Why, thank you, but you haven't seen anything yet, Yuri-chan, he said, grinning at the girl. Well then, hopefully I will in the future, Yura replied, smirking. Anyway, Saiza said something about talking to Tsuken. I'm gonna make sure he's okay. Have you seen him? No, but Omote went looking for him earlier, so I might as well go with you, she said as she began to follow him. You don't have to make up excuses if you want to hang out with me, Yuri-chan, Naruto teased, causing said girl to blush a bit for some unknown reason. She was not used to people other than Omote treating her like this. She was used to others fearing her, not treating her like an equal. I told you not to call me that, she snapped, causing the blonde to chuckle. Yuri-chan is so cute when she's embarrassed, he replied, only serving to annoy her further. The two began their search. You can't leave, they suddenly heard. They turned towards the voice to see a distressed Omote next to a sad Tsuken who was holding a suitcase. What does that fool think he is doing? Yura asked angrily. Nobody got away with upsetting her sister. She was about to go over there to show Tsuken his place, but Naruto put a hand on her shoulder, stopping her. Wait up. We don't know what this is about, plus it's best for them to solve their own problems themselves, Naruto explained. Yura frowned. She didn't like it, but she understood. Two of them continued to watch the scene in front of them. I'm sorry, Omote, but I don't think this school just isn't for me, Tsuken said gravely. He would have loved to stay here with her, Naruto, and Yura, but the threat from Saizu really got to him. After all, he's human, he doesn't belong here. I think it would be best if I just go to a human school, he admitted, shocking the young vampire. You can't go to a human school. I hate humans, she cried. Hearing this, Tsuken felt his heart shatter while Naruto cringed. Shit, those were not the right words to say, the blonde muttered while Yura silently agreed. My sister and I went to a human school for middle school. No one believed in monsters and we were isolated. They would even pick on me and I hated that feeling of loneliness, she explained, frowning at her memories. You two were alone? Naruto asked curiously from where they were watching. At first they seemed to like me, but then I beat up some of the boys who were picking on Omote. After seeing that, the kids became too scared to even come near me, Yura explained. Naruto suddenly had the image of a chibi Yura, whose hair was floating in the air and her eyes were glowing red as a demonic aura surrounded her, glaring at a bunch of crying boys who were running away. If the situation weren't serious, he probably would have laughed. But you and Naruto said you were okay with us being vampires. You two are the first real friends we ever had, Omote said. Like I said earlier, Omote thinks of you as friends. I merely tolerate you for her sake, Yura said before Naruto could open his mouth. So mean, Yura-chan, Naruto said, pouting in mock hurt, causing Yura to smirk. Omote was still trying to convince Tsuken to stay before he stopped her. What if I told you that I was human? He said, shocking the pink-haired girl, but he continued on. I'm human. I somehow got accepted to this school by mistake. That's impossible, she muttered, but he heard her. He noticed her shocked look and frowned. If that's how you feel, then fine, he said before running off, ignoring Omote's cries to come back. Better go help her out, Naruto said as he noticed the distressed look on Omote's face. The two of them made their way to her as tears formed in her eyes. She just drove away one of her first friends. Omote, are you okay? Yura asked softly. Yura-chan, he said, he's human. Is that a problem? Naruto asked gently. I don't know. Every other human has been so mean to me, she said, confused about today's events. Yura-chan, make sure Omote-chan is okay. I'll go make sure Tsuken doesn't do anything he'll regret, Naruto said as he made his way to follow his friend, but Omote called out to him. Naruto, wait. Tsuken said that he was human. What about you? She asked. Naruto thought whether he should tell the truth or not before sighing. If you want the truth, then yet technically I'm human, but don't worry. I'll prove to you two that I'll be a real friend, he said, smiling before chasing after Tsuken. He's human and he still wants to be friends with me? After I said I hate humans? Omote thought, surprised. What did he mean by technically? Yura thought curiously. Naruto, who was chasing after Tsukun, found him in the middle of the forest with his head hung low. Tsukun, what's up? Naruto said casually as he stepped into the boy's field of vision. Naruto? What are you doing here? Me? What about you? Going camping or something? Naruto asked, pointing at the luggage in Tsukun's hand. No, I decided to withdraw from here, he corrected. Why? I thought you liked it here with your friends, Naruto said, sounding confused. Yeah, but I don't belong here because… He trailed off. Who cares if you're human? The blonde sighed, surprising Tsukun. You knew? Since class, your reaction to this being a monster school gave it away, but no one else noticed, the blonde said matter-of-factly. Oh, well, since you know, then you understand why I have to leave. If the school finds out, he'll kill me, he said gravely. Tsukun, I'm hurt. You make it sound like I'd let them hurt my friend, Naruto said in mock pain. Friend? Even though I'm human, you still see me as a friend? Tsukun asked, surprised. I won't lie, I have had some bad experiences with humans, but it would be unfair to judge their whole race based on a few villagers. Besides, I knew you as a friend first and a human second, Naruto said, smiling. I see, thank you, Tsukun said, smiling, glad that he still had a friend. He's not the only one, a hesitant voice said from behind. They turned to see Omote and Yura approaching him, the former seeming more nervous. Omote, Tsukun said, surprised. I'm sorry about how I reacted. I was just so shocked that I couldn't say anything, Omote explained as a few tears escaped her eyes. But then Naruto said he's human too, and I realized that not all humans are so bad. You too accepted that Yura-chan and I are vampires, so I should be able to accept that you're human. Human? But you said you had bad experiences with human as if you were something else, Tsukun said, confused while looking at the blonde, who smiled sheepishly. Well, I'm kind of a special case. I'm not lying when I say I'm human, but I'm something more. And I have had bad experiences with other humans. But that's a long story for another day, he explained. Just what are you hiding? Yura thought while Tsukun turned his attention back to Omote. Please don't leave, Tsukun. I don't want to lose a friend, Omote pleaded. Well, isn't this interesting? A voice called out. They turned to see Saizu approaching them. I thought I told you to stay away from the girls. I remember you saying that, but I decided to ignore you, Naruto said, shrugging while Tsukun took a step back. I've had it with you, punk. I'll crush you, get rid of Ono, and take the girls for myself, Saizu said as his body began to shift around. I can't control myself anymore. Just thinking about what I'll do to you is making me lose control, he said as his body grew twice its size as he revealed his monster form. Wow, so this is your true form. Gotta say, it's a bit of an improvement, Naruto whistled. Don't mock me, he roared as he charged at the blonde. Naruto just sighed as he extended his arm as a dark blue orb of light appeared in his palm. Saizu ran straight into it, sending him flying through the air, groaning in pain. Resignation, he said calmly as the orb vanished. His friends watched shock, wondering what he did. I've improved at controlling my Yuki. I don't even need a clone anymore, Naruto though pleased as he watched Saizu struggle to his feet. Since he was trying to get with you and your sister, I'll let you finish him off, Naruto said as he pulled Yura's rosary easily, surprising the vampires. Suddenly a powerful aura of Yuki surrounded the silver-haired girl as her pupils became slits and her fangs and claws became more pronounced. What's the matter, little boy? You wanted me and my sister, correct? Well, you'll have to take us by force, Yura taunted, her power now released. Damn, she wasn't kidding when she said she was an elite warrior. This strength is amazing, Naruto thought, impressed as she suddenly disappeared and reappeared in front of Saizu. Foolish weaklings like you should know their place, she said right before the heel of her foot connected with Saizu's jaw with a devastating kick. She turned to see her worried sister, a sweating Tsukun and an amused Naruto. What's wrong, Uzumaki? Now that you've caught a glimpse of my real power, are you scared? She taunted as he handed her Rosario back. Are you kidding? I'm thinking that you and I need to have a spar sometime, he said with a grin. Again she was surprised but did not show it. Again he was not scared of her like the others, but instead he was interested. He was definitely a confusing one to her. Just know that I don't always need my full power to deal with weaklings like this one. But since this was the first, I'll let you off with a warning, she said with a smirk as she placed the Rosario back on. Her pupils returned to normal. Her fangs and nails shrank as the powerful aura of energy disappeared. She then turned towards Tsukun before smacking him in the back of his head, hard. You had better not upset Omot again like you did by making her believe you were leaving, she said, glaring at him. Sorry. He apologized to both girls. Well, now that that's settled, let's go get some ramen. Tsukun's treat. Naruto cheered as he made his way back with the others, following what he said registered in Tsukun's head. Why is it my treat? He asked. 'Cause you're the one who caused us all to worry and stuff, he said, imagining all the ramen they would eat. And so ended Naruto's first day of high school, but he couldn't complain. After all, he made some interesting friends. Chapter 3: Meeting the Other Students. Yokai Academy, a school where monsters attend in order to learn how to coexist with humans. The number one rule is that no humans are allowed at the school and will be killed on sight. Many think it impossible for any human to find a way into the school, but that is not the case for one Naruto Uzumaki, a half-human half-kitsune hybrid. Said hybrid was now in his room, slowly opening his eyes as the sound of an alarm clock was ringing through his room. Reaching under his pillow, he pulled out a kunai, which he always kept hidden there in case of an emergency, and threw it at the loud device. After rubbing the sleep from his eyes, he stretched until he heard the satisfying pop of his bones before he stood up. Damn, that thing is annoying as hell, he mumbled to himself as he observed the shattered remains of the clock before he stood up to take a morning shower to get ready for the day. Once done, he got dressed for school and left his room. This place looks so peaceful. Never would have thought that this was actually a school of monsters, Naruto muttered to himself as he walked through the school grounds heading for homeroom. It has been about 1 week since Naruto arrived, and he felt pretty good. He made 3 friends, which was a record seeing as it took him about 13 years to make one in Konoha, and he got to kick Saiza's ass earlier this week. Friends and a good old-fashioned ass kicking, a good week indeed. Naruto! A familiar voice called. He turned to see Omot and Tsukun running to catch up to him, while Yura walked at a leisurely pace. Morning, guys, Naruto said as they reached him. Good morning, Naruto, Tsukun said as he smiled at his friend. How did you sleep? Omot asked. One of the most peaceful nights I ever had, he said, and meant it. This was the first time he didn't have to worry about someone sneaking into his apartment while he slept in an attempt to end the demon. Uzumaki, Yura greeted as she reached the group. Come on, Yura-chan, just call me Naruto. I thought we were all friends. Naruto whined in an over-exaggerated manner. Like I've already said, you and Omot are friends. I merely tolerate you for her sake, she said, crossing her arms under her chest as she looked away uninterestedly. So cruel, Naruto said as he crouched down onto the floor, hugging his legs into his chest. A dark, depressing aura surrounded him as he traced patterns on the ground. I'm sure she doesn't mean that, Tsukun said as he tried to comfort his friend. No, I meant it. The same goes for you too, she said casually, causing Tsukun to join Naruto on the ground, tracing patterns in the dirt as the depressing aura spread. So cruel, they both muttered, causing both vampires to sweat drop. Soon Yura noticed a couple of students stopping to watch the depressed boys. Not liking the attention, she sighed before addressing the heartbroken duo. If you will stop making a scene, I am willing to accept you two as acquaintances, she compromised. I'll take it, Naruto cheered as he threw an arm over her shoulders. Her eyes widened at the sudden contact, and the speed he did it before they narrowed, and she drove her elbow into his stomach. She took a few steps away from him as he fell on his knees, gasping for breath. Just because I have acknowledged you as an acquaintance does not give you permission to put your hands on me so freely, she said, but if you looked closely you could see a light pink hue on her cheeks due to the unfamiliar action. Laughing at her sister's actions, Omot turned to Tsukun, who was also watching the scene in amusement. Those two get along well, don't you think so, Tsuken? Omote asked with a smile. I guess so, Tsuken said while chuckling as he watched Naruto ask when he would get permission to put his hands on her freely only to receive a fist on top of his head courtesy of Yura. Is it lonely for you too? Omote asked, gaining Tsuken's attention. Huh, was his intelligent reply. You and Naruto are the only humans here. It must be lonely for you, she explained. Well, he trailed off. The truth was that he was terrified at the beginning to be the only human at a monster school, but when he found out Naruto was human as well, he felt much better. He believed the blonde when he said he was human, but how did he create that ball of energy to take down Saizu? He made a mental note to ask Naruto later, but right now he had a beautiful pink-haired vampire to talk to. At first I was nervous, but I don't really feel lonely. Not with friends like you guys, he answered honestly, earning a smile from Omote. Good, but if there's anything you need, just ask. I'll do whatever I can, she said before leaning closer. Omote-san? He asked as he shifted uncomfortably. Just when it looked like they were about to kiss, she leaned towards his neck and took a bite as she sucked his blood. Having her fill, she pulled back with a happy blush and smile on her face. After all, your blood is by far the tastiest I've ever had, she said before realization hit Tsuken. Aha! You sucked my blood again, he screamed as he clutched his neck and ran around in circles. Sorry, but the aroma of your blood was so intoxicating that I couldn't resist myself, she explained while rubbing the back of her head sheepishly. What am I? Food? He cried as he ran away. Tsuken? Omote asked worriedly with a bit of hurt in his eyes. Naruto and Yura stopped their little argument as they watched the scene in front of them. Damn fool has hurt Omote again, Yura muttered in annoyance. She gave him fair warning, but now it looked like she will have to show him his place. Don't worry, Omote-chan. Remember, you're the first vampire he's ever met. You probably just shocked him when you sucked his blood so suddenly, Naruto reasoned as he placed a comforting hand on the girl's shoulder. Do you think so? She asked, worried that she scared off her friend. Positive. Now why don't you go find him and talk things out? The blonde suggested. Okay, thanks for the advice, Naruto, she said with a smile before she ran off to find Tsuken. That idiot better be more careful. If he hurts her again, his face will meet the heel of my foot, Yura huffed. Remembering the power that her kicks had, Naruto couldn't help but wince. If Tsuken was in the receiving end of one of those, he might actually die. Now, it was just a simple misunderstanding. No need to overreact, he reasoned. Yura looked at him for a moment before sighing. Let's just go to class, she suggested as she began to walk away. As you wish, Yura-chan, Naruto said as he walked by her side. I still do not remember giving you permission to call me that, the silver-haired vampire said, annoyed, while the blonde just chuckled. The two continued their way, with Naruto making a teasing remark while Yura resisted the urge to beat him to the ground when they spotted a crowd. I understand that you are a very intelligent girl. I mean, that is to be expected from somebody who has skipped so many grades, but that does not give you any excuses, a male student said to a younger girl. She had short brown hair, and instead of a normal school uniform, hers had a cloak and witch hat. Class representative? The younger girl asked. A bit of fear could be seen in her eyes. Just look at you. Your outfit is completely against the school dress code, he said as he pushed her. Stop that, she protested, only to be ignored. Seeing this made Naruto's blood boil. Forgetting class, he marched his way over to them. Uzumaki, Yura called out but was ignored. Mildly annoyed at this, she made her way to follow him. On their way there, Naruto and Yura heard some of the onlookers speak. Isn't that the genius? I think so. Looks like she's getting bullied by the class representative gang. Well, it's understandable. I mean, look at how she dresses. Yeah, she's just a witch, so no harm done, right? This comment really pissed off Naruto. He was still a few feet away when a rock flew from the ground and struck the class representative's head, causing him to pause in confusion. How did that happen? Ha! Take that. Serves you right, you jerk, the young girl stated, which only caused the representative's annoyance increase. Damn no good witch, Just looking at you disgusts me. He growled as he lunged forward but stopped when he felt a great amount of pain in his stomach. He looked to see an unfamiliar body standing between him and the witch. The young girl closed her eyes, preparing for the inevitable pain. She waited and waited, but still nothing. Taking a chance, she opened her eyes and gasped when she saw a boy guarding her. She couldn't see much since he had his back to her, but she could see his spiky blonde hair. "Are you okay?" he asked gently as he looked over his shoulder, letting her see his blue eyes and whisker-marked cheeks. "Why, yeah," she said after taking a deep breath. Someone actually helped her. "Okay, just relax and let me handle this," he said in that same soft tone that caused her to blush. He turned his attention back to the boy in front of him, and his eyes hardened. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he asked in a tone so cold everyone took a step back. Even Yura, who was now standing by him, was surprised at this, not expecting Naruto to be able to speak in such a way. What do you mean?" the class representative said, a bit startled at the look in the blonde's eyes. "I mean, what the hell is your problem? Does picking on a younger girl make you feel better about yourself? Are you so pathetic that mocking a young girl gives you some sick pleasure?" he asked angrily. "Young girl? The only thing I see is a filthy witch," he said. The moment he finished his sentence, he received a punch to the jaw that sent him flying. "Who cares if she's a witch? She's still a living being who deserves to be treated with respect," he said through gritted teeth. Both Yura and the young witch watched surprised. The witch because no one defended her in such a way, and Yura because this situation seemed to truly affect Naruto based on the emotions she could see in his eyes. She would have to talk to him about this later. "If I see you messing with her again, I won't hesitate to kill you. Scum like you have no right to live," he said, unleashing a bit of killer intent at him. "Whatever," he scoffed, trying to play it cool, but the fear could be seen. He and his friends left the three of them and the crowd of students who watched the whole thing. Naruto then turned his attention to the crowd. "And you people disgust me," he said, shocking everyone. What do you mean?" one of them asked. "How the hell could you just watch him bully her? Hell, some of you thought it was reasonable," Naruto said as memories of a young blonde boy standing alone as a group of village mocked and ridiculed him flashed into his mind. Well, she's just a Y dash, but the student never finished. A kunai flew through the air, cutting his cheek and his sentence. "I'd shut up if I were you, because if that is your only excuse, then by the time I'm through with you, you'll be begging for the sweet mercy of death," he said as he glared at the cowering crowd. "It's blind fools like you that are the reason for so much pain in the world. Get out of my sight before I lose control and slaughter each and every one of you," he said, unleashing some killer intent at them. Needless to say, they ran in a panic. Taking a couple of deep breaths to calm himself, Naruto turned around to face the young girl. She took a step back, remembering how he talked to the crowd of students, afraid that he may unleash that fury on her next. "Are you all right?" he asked gently as he crouched down to look at her eye level. "Why, yes. Thank you," she said, seeing that he wouldn't hurt her or anything. "My name's Naruto Uzumaki, and this is my friend Yura Akashiya," he said, introducing him and the vampire standing by them. "I'm Yukari Sendo," she said politely. She usually didn't act this way around other students, but they didn't look like they would cause any harm, especially Naruto. She heard rumors about him beating Saiza easily and figured he was some type of Neanderthal who only knew how to fight, but here he was standing up for her when no one else would. I think I've heard that name before," Naruto said as he rubbed his chin in thought. "She is rank number in academics," Yura supplied. "A rather impressive feat for someone so young," she added. "Really? Damn, that's amazing," Naruto whistled. No matter what, academics weren't his thing, but he could respect those who excelled in it. Hearing he praised these two were giving her cause Yukari to blush. It's nothing really," she stuttered, earning a scoff from Naruto. "Nothing? Come on, Yukari-chan, be proud of your accomplishment. If I were you, I'd be bragging up a storm," Naruto said. "I never knew you were so humble," Yura said sarcastically. "What can I say? It's part of the Uzumaki charm," Naruto said with a grin. "Uzumaki charm? Would you care to show us this so-called charm you possess? Because I haven't seen any from you yet. Yura said with a deadpan expression, causing Naruto to crouch on the ground and trace patterns on the floor with a depressing aura spreading over him. So cruel. He muttered as a sweat drop appeared over the vampire and witch. Is he always like this? Yukari asked, pointing at the blonde. Unfortunately. Yura sighed, rubbing her temple, trying to prevent a headache she knew was coming. Anyway, why were those guys acting like that? Naruto asked as Yukari dropped her head. It's because I'm a witch, she said as if it explained everything, and normally it would have to any other monster, but Naruto was not normal. Yeah, I heard people say that, but is that it? He asked, scratching the back of his head. Hearing this caused Yukari to snap her head towards the blonde. What do you mean, is that it? She asked, shocked. No offense, but it seems kind of stupid to treat you like that just 'cause you're a witch, he said with a shrug. It's not surprising you do not, but witches are not exactly the most popular of races, she said before glancing at Yukari. No offense, Yukari, she added after seeing her slumped shoulders. It's okay. I already know how most feel about witches, she said solemnly. What are you guys talking about? Naruto asked, not following along. We witches are considered as half-breeds. We're in the boundary between humans and yokai, Yukari informed. Because they are a bit of both, humans fear them while yokai see them as a disgrace, Yura continued. Hearing this caused Naruto to frown. Yukari-chan, whenever someone messes with you for being a witch, just tell me and I'll teach them a lesson, he said, surprising the witch. What? Why would you help me? She asked, wide-eyed. Both Yukari and Yura watched as a haunted look appeared in Naruto's eyes, as if he was going through a series of memories. You were born a witch. You can't help but be what you are, and because of that people hate you. He started as a sad smile grew on his face. I know what it's like to be hated for doing nothing but being what you are. You do? Yukari asked, shocked. Yeah, I also know what it's like to scream and beg for help only to be ignored, he said while the two girls listened quietly, looking at the multiple emotions in his eyes. I remember the one thing I wanted most was to be acknowledged. Something tells me that you want the same thing, he continued, earning a nod from the witch. Grinning like a fox, Naruto stuck out his hands towards the girl. In that case, I'll acknowledge you. So, what do you say, Yukari-chan, wanna be friends? He asked cheerfully. Yukari just stared, with her eyes the size of dinner plates, in complete shock. She was silent for a while, which made the blonde nervous. Yukari-chan, it's kind of awkward if you don't say or do something, Naruto said sheepishly. Snapping back to her sense, Yukari ignored the outstretched hand and ran straight into the blonde's chest. She hugged him tight as tears fell from her eyes. Lowering his arm, he rubbed her back gently. Thank you? The witch mumbled. She had a friend. A friend who not only accepted her, but apparently he understood her pain as well. Yura was silent as she watched the scene in front of her. She replayed some of the things Naruto said as well as some of the things she already knew of him. The first thing she knew was that Naruto said he was human, which would mean he lived with other humans. But from what he just said, the people he lived with hated him for being what he was. Why would humans hate someone for being human? But then she remembered how he handled Saizu and that weird ball of energy. No human should be able to do something like that, at least not an ordinary human. He also said that the one thing he wanted was to be acknowledged. He wanted people to pay attention to him, but no one would. He also said people would ignore him when he screamed and begged for help, which she had found very difficult to believe he did such a thing. This meant he had no one to help him. No friends, but what about his family? All these thoughts began to give her a headache. She glanced at the two and saw Naruto say something to elicit a giggle from Yukari. The vampire allowed a small smile to appear on her face. You are a mystery, Naruto Uzumaki, but you are definitely an interesting person. Meanwhile, with Sukun. Sukun was walking through the forest, letting his mind wander. He thought about his friends here. First was Naruto, who was a human like him, an exceptionally strong human, but human nonetheless. Then there was Yura, the silver-haired vampire. She was a very proud, confident girl, but she seemed to be closer to Naruto than himself. Of course that could be because Naruto refused to let her shy away from them. Finally there was Omote. He couldn't help but blush when thinking of her. She was very cute and much more innocent than her sister, but she had the tendency to suck his blood whenever they were close together. I enjoy spending time with Omote-san, but does she always have to drink my blood? Am I only a source of food to her? Sukun asked himself as he continued to walk through the forest. Someone, PL please, help, a voice said, interrupting his thoughts. He turned towards the source and blushed at what he saw. A beautiful girl with blue hair, and the biggest chest he ever saw was lying on the ground. She's beautiful, he thought. The girl looked up and saw Sukun. I don't feel well, please, can you help me? She asked weakly, snapping the boy out of his trance. Oh, of course. Can you stand? He asked as he helped her to his feet. It hurts, she said, flinching. What's wrong? Sukun asked, concerned. My chest feels like it's about to burst, she said as she pressed her breast against his side. It does look like it could burst at any second. They're so big and soft. He inwardly panicked as his face turned crimson. Sukun, could you look into my eyes? She asked shyly. He did what he was asked and felt his heart skip a few beats. My name is Kuruma Kurono. I hope we can be good friends, she said, but Sukun barely heard her. He felt spellbound while looking into her eyes. Those eyes, amazing. What's wrong with me? Why do I want to hold her tightly? He asked himself as he felt his body pull closer to her. Like metal to a magnet, he couldn't control himself, and hugged her tightly to his body before the two walked back to the school with his arm around her. Unknown to him, Omote was watching the whole thing. Deciding to listen to Naruto's advice, she searched for her friend and was shocked to his him with another girl. She felt a pain in her heart when she saw the brown-haired boy hug the strange girl. Was Sukun trying to replace her as a friend because she kept sucking his blood? Unable to stand it, she walked away in the opposite direction. Pretty soon she found herself walking through the hallways alone. I'm alone again. Just like before, she thought to herself as she remembered her time at school in the human world. No, this time I don't even have Yura-chan with me, she mentally added as she noticed the absence of her sister. While she was sad about that, she was also happy. She was glad Yura had a friend like Naruto who ignored her stubborn attitude. She was so deep in thought that she didn't notice a pair of students approach her. What's up, Omote-chan? A cheerful voice said, causing her to jump in surprise. Turning around, she saw the faces of a grinning Naruto and Yura, whose eye was twitching badly because of the blonde's arms slung around her shoulder. No matter what she did, Naruto always found a way to annoy her. However, her annoyance vanished when she saw Omote's face. Are you alright, Omote? You seem upset, she asked, concerned. She may act cold-hearted to others, but she cared deeply about her sister. Nothing's wrong, Yura-chan, she said, trying to push her sister's concerns away, but she didn't fool either of them. For some reason I don't believe you. Want to try again? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Trying to think up a lie but failing, Omote just sighed. It's nothing really, Sukun, he tried to explain but failed. Hearing the human's name caused Yura to frown. What did that fool do his time? She asked, annoyed. Nothing but, Omote said before she was interrupted. If the rumors are true, then you two are vampires, a voice called out. They looked up to see a blue-haired girl sitting on the stair rail smiling smugly. She jumped off and landed gracefully, a few feet in front of the trio. You're the girl that was with Sukun earlier, Omote pointed out, surprised. The girl ignored her as she made her way over to them. As she did, the students were making a ruckus. Look at her. Her boobs are huge. To think there was another beauty besides the Akashiya twins. There were other comments that just annoyed Yura to no end while causing Naruto to sweat drop. If he ever made any comments like that in Konoha, he would be dead in no time. Omote, though, seemed oblivious to them, her attention focused solely on the girl who was now in front of them. I am Kuruma Kurono, a succubus, and I have come to defeat you too, she stated smugly. Omote looked confused while Yura looked uninterested. I thought I was against the rules to reveal your true form, Naruto whispered to Yura. It is. She probably thinks so highly about herself that she just doesn't care. Yura shrugged, causing Naruto to smirk. That kinda reminds me of someone else I know, he said, giving her a pointed look, causing her to nudge him with her elbow. I haven't the slightest idea of who you are talking about, she said, causing him to chuckle. Why would you tell us your true form? You're breaking the rules. Omote asked, confused, but Kurumu ignored her. I can't stand it. You two are nothing but eyesores. You're messing with my grand plan, she said, pointing an accusatory finger at the two vampires. Plan? Omote asked. She was still confused about what was going on. Yura, on the other hand, had a tick mark growing on her head. I know you did not just call me an eyesore, you pathetic excuse of a yokai, Yura said through gritted teeth. Her vampire pride would not let her just take that insult. Yes, my plan is to make every male student at the academy become my slave. I call it my Yokai Academy Harem Transformation Plan, she stated proudly. The whole hallway was silent as they stared at her with a deadpan expression. I've heard my fair share of master plans, but this one, wow, this one takes the cake, Naruto muttered to himself. I could care less about your idiotic plan, Yura said with a bored tone, although she inwardly agreed with Naruto. This plan was just, wow. My plan was flawless. I should have had all the guys become a slave to my beauty from the start. But you two have ruined that. The guys at this school are dreaming about you two instead of me, she said, getting in their faces. Getting annoyed, Yura pushed her way. You think I enjoy this? They are nothing but disgusting irritants that cannot keep their filthy thoughts to themselves. Yura shouted, appalled. How could anyone enjoy the perverted comments these fools made about her and her sister? Hearing this, all the guys in the hallway felt an arrow pierce their heart. The goddess they worshipped hated them. Naruto snickered at the looks on their faces. Hearing this, Kuruma turned her attention to the blonde. She walked over to him and looked him straight in the eyes. Once their eyes locked, Naruto felt his heart skip a few beats. I will not lose to you two in a battle of feminine charm, she said while invading Naruto's personal space. Naruto wasn't sure why, but he couldn't look away from her eyes. What the hell? I can't move, he thought to himself as he felt his body freeze. Kuruma pressed her chest against Naruto and gave a seductive smile to the blonde. Yura, for some unknown reason, felt her annoyance spike up. But why should she care if some annoying girl threw her body at the blonde? You're Naruto Uzumaki, right? Rumors say that you're the only student that Yura talks to besides her sister, she said before turning to the twins. So in order to prove my superiority to you two, I have decided to steal Naruto and Tsukun from you, she declared, surprising the two girls. What? Leave Tsukun out of this, Omote said, shocked. What's wrong with this girl? Yura, on the other hand, remained silent. She was trying to rack her brain, thinking about everything she knew about succubus. Something was wrong because Naruto was unusually quiet. Why should I? After all, you're only using him as a food source. And all Yura does is ignore Naruto, she accused as she leaned more into his body. That's not true. Tsukun is my friend, Omote protested. While this was going on, Naruto was still having an internal struggle. Why the hell can't I move? He asked himself. Ever since he looked into Kuruma's eyes, his body froze. Wait a minute, her eyes. Is she behind this? He asked himself. About time you figured it out, Kit, a demonic voice answered. Kurama, what the hell's going on? You're being controlled. How? The girl. When you looked into her eyes, she used some kind of genjutsu or something to control you, the fox explained. Damn it! Think you can help me out? He asked, hoping to break free before he did something stupid. If you let me gain control for a while, then yeah, I can definitely do something, Kurama said with a grin. Unaware of the internal conversation going in Naruto's head, Kurama stood confidently. She was pleased with herself when she saw the panicked look of Omote and the annoyed one of Yura. Now it was time for her next step of her plan, to make Naruto hers. Naruto, why do you continue to hang out with someone like Yura? If you were with me, I promise that I won't ignore you, she said before leaning towards his ear and whispered. If you were with me, I can promise you, and I can have some real fun. Now all I have to do is kiss him and he's mine. Kuruma thought triumphantly as she leaned in closer to Hai. Their lips were about to meet when her body froze and she felt cold steel pressed against her neck. Yura, who was watching this, was not happy, but she didn't understand why. Seeing the succubus about to kiss Naruto angered her for some unknown reason. Perhaps she had feeling for the blonde. She scoffed, and immediately threw that idea out of her head. That was just not possible. The only logical conclusion was that the succubus insulted her, and her vampire pride would not allow her to just leave it like that. Yes, that had to be the reason. She was about to give the girl a piece of her mind when she saw Naruto raise a kunai and held it to her neck. The thing that shocked her, and everyone else who was watching though, was his face. His blue eyes were gone, replaced with red slitted eyes. His whisker marks became darker, and his teeth became sharper like canines. Judging by the look on his face as he stared at Kuruma, he was not happy. Impossible! He broke through my charm. Wait, those eyes, is he a vampire? Kuruma thought frantically. Listen, girl, I don't know who you think you are, but if you try that little stunt on the kid again, I will end you, he said with a dark edge that sent shivers down everyone's spine. He pushed Kuruma away, causing her to fall on the ground. His features returned to normal as he stared at her coldly. Like I said, don't try that weird-ass eye trick on me again or you'll pay. He growled out in his normal voice, but it was still laced with anger. Are you a vampire too? Kuruma asked shakily as she stood back on her feet. Hearing this, Naruto blinked a couple of times before grinning. Nope, he simply said. Yura just watched him deep in thought. He is definitely not a vampire despite his eyes. His scent is that of a human, but how can he do all that? And what did he mean, Kit? She thought to herself. One thing for sure was that she and Naruto were going to have a chat very soon. Omote-san! A voice called out. They turned to see Tsukun walking towards them. Omote gasped when she remembered he was Kuruma's other target. Tsukun! Oh no, I have to warn him, she thought to herself. There you are. I was looking everywhere for you, he said as he smiled at the pink-haired girl. Seeing him, Kuruma decided to act fast. I wanted to Apollo, he started when he was interrupted by a body crashing into him. Tsukun-kun! Kuruma cheered as she pressed her hest against him. K. Kuruma-san? Tsukun asked, shocked as his face began to glow a bright red. Seeing this, Omote felt her eye twitch in a similar fashion as her sister when a certain blonde annoys her. Wait a minute! I came to talk to Omote-san. He panicked. Tsukun, get away from her. You're being tricked. She's not really your friend, Omote pleaded. How awful! How can you say such cruel things about me? She said overdramatically as she leaned into Tsukun some more. I don't know why my charm failed against Naruto, but it should work against Tsukun, she thought as their eyes locked. Once again, Tsukun felt his heart skip a few beats. This weird feeling again. What's going on? Tsukun thought to himself. There is something going on, and I know the succubus is behind it. But what? Yura thought to herself as she watched the scene in front of her. Tsukun, please get away from her. She's going to eat you or something. She's just using you, Omote said, trying to help her friends. Really? But aren't you the one who's just using me to suck my blood? Tsukun countered, his eyes glazed over. Hearing this, Omote felt like she was just slapped in the face. Yura glared at the two as she saw her sister's pained expression. That's not, she started as tears formed in her eyes. Unable to take it, she let the tears fall freely as she ran away. You two will pay for what you have done, Yura said. Kuruma couldn't help but gulp at the silver-haired vampire's angry glare. Relax, Yura-chan. We can take care of those two later, but we should check on Omote-chan first, Naruto told her. Nodding, the two made their way to follow the upset vampire, but Naruto spared one more glance at Kuruma. You made a great mistake, Kuruma, he said coldly. Kuruma tried to hide it, but she was frightened. No boy had ever spoken to her like that, and it scared her. You hurt my friend, congratulations, that just made me your enemy, he continued before he and Yura made their way to find Omote. Kuruma felt like she made a grave error. Something told her that she didn't want Naruto as an enemy. Hey Kurama, Naruto called out in his mind. What is it, Kit? Remember earlier today when I said this school was peaceful? Yeah, what about it? I was dead wrong, Naruto said dryly, causing the fox to laugh. Kit, there's no such thing as peaceful with you around, the fox said between laughs. Tell me about it. Naruto sighed as he continued his search for Omote. Chapter 4 Vampires plus Succubus equals Catfight. Omote sat on a set of stairs thinking about what transpired today. She had a bit of a misunderstanding with Tsukun. She went to search for him only to see him with a blue-haired girl. Later on, said girl accuses her of using Tsukun, and then the final nail in the coffin, Tsukun agreed with her. Unable to take it, she ran away with tears in her eyes. Does Tsukun really believe that I'm only using him to suck his blood? She asked herself as she wiped the tears from her eyes. It's not true, she muttered to herself, upset. How could Kuruma accuse her of doing something like that when she's doing the same thing? Omote? A voice from behind called. Turning her head, the pink-haired vampire turned to see Yura and Naruto walking towards her. Yura took a seat by her sister while Naruto leaned against the rail with his arms crossed. What are you two doing here? She asked, trying to hide her inner turmoil to no avail. We came to check on you, Omote-chan, Naruto said, watching the girl. I'm okay. She tried to reassure them, but Omote was never good at hiding her emotions, especially from her sister. Don't lie to me, Omote. I saw how those words affected you. Those two will pay for hurting you, Yura said as she placed a comforting hand on Omote's shoulder. You don't have to do anything, Yura-chan. Everyone is allowed to have their own opinion. I just didn't know that's how Tsukun felt about me, Omote reasoned. Although she was hurt, she didn't want her sister to get into a fight with anyone, but Yura didn't seem to agree. Even so, that does not excuse them, Yura protested. She understood that her sister did not like confrontations, but right now she did not care. The succubus would pay for her actions and accusations, and Tsukun, Yura was definitely going to show him his place. Yura-chan, I know you're only looking out for me, but you can't beat up people for expressing themselves. I guess it was my fault. I kept drinking Tsukun's blood after all. No wonder he thinks I'm using him, Omote said with a sad look in her eyes. That might not be the case, Naruto said with a thoughtful expression on his face, gaining the attention from the two girls. What do you mean? Omote asked, confused, while Yura raised an elegant eyebrow, silently asking him to explain. Well, I've been thinking, he said, but was interrupted. Shocking, I thought you were incapable of thinking. Yura scoffed while crossing her arms, causing Naruto to face fault. Despite the events from earlier, Omote couldn't help but giggle at their actions. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. Anyway, like I was saying, something about this situation is a bit off, he explained. What do you mean? Omote asked. Remember earlier when Kuruma was talking to me? Yes, so? Yura asked, wondering where he was going with his. Hopefully it could jog her memory, because she knew there was something about the succubus that she was missing, something important. Well, while she was talking to me, our eyes locked. After that I felt weird. I just suddenly blanked out. I was aware of my actions, but it was like my body had a mind of its own, he explained, scratching the back of his head thoughtfully. That is weird, Omote agreed with a confused frown. I know. What Tsukun said to you was something he wouldn't normally say, so maybe what happened to me happened to him, Naruto said, earning a nod from Omote while Yura remained silent. That might be it, she agreed, feeling a sense of hope. Perhaps something was wrong and Tsukun really does think of her as a real friend. Of course, Yura suddenly said, gaining the attention of the other two. Did you figure something out, Yura-chan? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. How could I have been so foolish? Now everything makes sense, she chastised herself, ignoring the blonde. I'm glad everything makes sense to you, but we're still in the dark, Naruto said, pointing to Omote and himself. What is it, Yura-chan? Omote asked, confused. Charm was the only thing she said, earning confused looks from the other two. Charm? Naruto asked, not getting what she was saying. Yes, it is a form of sorcery that can turn the opposite sex into the user's slave, she elaborated. What? Omote asked, shocked. She did not like where this was going. I knew there was something about the succubus that I was forgetting. The succubus are a race that seduces males by using charm, she said. So Tsukun is under Kuruma's charm? Omote asked. From what Naruto has said, I am positive, Yura answered before looking at the blonde. Speaking of which, exactly how did you break out of her charm? I don't know. I guess my will was just stronger, Naruto said nervously. He didn't know how to explain how Kurama broke the charm, and something told him that saying the giant demon fox that lives inside of me took control of my body to break free would take too long to explain. Yura looked at him, obviously not believing his answer, but she was going to let it slide, for now. Anyway, if we wish to rescue Tsukun, we must hurry. A male who receives a kiss from a succubus will become their slave for all eternity, Yura explained, causing them to go wide-eyed. Oh no, Tsukun's in trouble, Omote shouted as she stood on her feet. Damn it! We better hurry before it's too late, and he becomes her slave, Naruto said as they ran off, hoping to save their friend. Infirmary. Tsukun was currently sitting on a chair near the side of Kurama, who was sitting on one of the hospital beds. Both of them were silent, deep in thoughts about what transpired earlier today in the hallways. Yahoo! I did it! I can't believe I finally did it! I made that annoying Omote cry! Kuruma cheered in her head while anime tears of happiness fell out of her eyes. Tsukun, on the other hand, was having very different thoughts. I can't believe I said that to Omote-san. What's wrong with me? He thought dejectedly as his mind replayed the earlier events. An image of Omote crying came to his mind, and he felt an immense feeling of guilt. I have to apologize and hope she forgives me, he decided before an image of a glaring Yura appeared next, causing him to shiver. If not, then Yura-san will definitely kill me, he added as an afterthought. Deep in his thought, he did not notice Kurama looking at him with a small blush on her face. Now all that's left is to make him my slave, then I will utterly defeat Omote. Then I can work on stealing Naruto from Yura, she thought smugly before she frowned as she remembered the way Naruto broke free from her charm. Then she felt a chill go down her spine when she remembered the last words he said before he followed the Akashiya twins. You hurt my friend, congratulations, that just made me your enemy. Something told her that she did not want to have Naruto as an enemy. She shook her head to get rid of those thoughts. She would cross that bridge when the time came, but right now she had other things to focus on. With that decided, she turned towards the brown-haired boy who remained silent this while time. Tsukun-kun, she said, gaining the boy's attention. Hearing his name, Tsukun looked up only to find his vision blocked, and it became difficult to breathe. Wondering what was happening, he panicked when he realized Kurama buried his face in her breasts. Oh God, what's happening? I just get in a fight with Omote-san, piss off Yura-san, and now this. Why does the universe hate me? He cried in his head as he struggled for breath. You're sad, right? Kurama asked gently as she rubbed his head comfortably. Relax and let Kurama make it all better. I promise to take good care of you. Suddenly she pushed him gently but hard enough to make him fall on the hospital bed. His face turned bright red when she climbed on top of him until she was straddling him. Kurama-san, what are you doing? He asked nervously as he tried to back away from her but was unsuccessful. He looked up and their eyes locked. Once again he felt his heart skip a few beats, and found it impossible to think or speak. How strange, my heart is racing. That's never happened before. Kurama mused as she leaned in closer to Tsukun. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Once we kiss, my charm will control him completely, and I'll beat Omote, then I'll focus on Naruto and get back at Yura. Wait. Tsukun struggled to say as their lips drew closer together. He didn't know what was happening. He only met this girl today and they were about to kiss. Normally he would thank the heavens for this opportunity, but the image of a pink-haired vampire came to mind. With all the strength he had, Tsukun grabbed Kurama's shoulders and pulled her away before their lips connected. What the? Kurama muttered, shocked. 1 minute she was about to kiss the boy in front of her, and then the next she was being hugged by him. I'm sorry, but I can't kiss you, Tsukun said, surprising her since he appeared to have broken free from her charm. Why? Because there is someone who I don't want to betray, he answered honestly, causing her eyes to widen before they narrowed in anger. Even when I made it virtually impossible for him to resist me, he was able to avoid kissing me, all because of that damned pink-haired bitch, she fumed in her mind. She was barely able to control her rage. How was this possible? How could he refuse her like this? Why do you hate me so much? She asked quietly. What do you mean? I don't hate you. Sukun asked, confused, but was pushed away by Kuruma. Is she so much better than me? She asked through gritted teeth. After everything I did, you still refuse me? She continued as a pair of bat wings sprouted from her back. A devil-like tail appeared behind her, and her nails grew longer and sharper, causing Sukun to panic. Kuruma, what's going on? He asked in a panicked tone as he pointed at her wings, but she ignored him. I have never lost before, but those stupid vampires come out of nowhere and steal the spotlight from me, she thought furiously before glaring at the frightened human. Now I'm pissed, she shouted in anger. First Naruto and now you, all because of those two. I'm going to destroy everything that has anything to do with them, she shouted before aiming her claws at Sukun. Oh God! I'm going to die! Sukun shouted in fear. He closed his eyes, waiting for his inevitable end when the door suddenly opened. Opening his eyes, Sukun was surprised to see a flash of pink that charged at Kuruma. Stop it! Omote shouted, making her way towards the succubus in a desperate attempt to stop her. Yura and Naruto entered the room after her. Omote-san? Sukun asked, surprised. He thought that she would never speak to him again after hurting her earlier. Great! What are you two doing here? Kuruma asked in annoyance at seeing the vampires interrupting her. Omote looked at her and glared. Don't you dare hurt Sukun! She shouted before pushing her away. What the? Kuruma exclaimed as she was not expecting that, was caught off guard and was sent flying out one of the infirmary windows, surprising everyone but Yura. Underestimating a vampire's strength, a very bad mistake, she said with a smirk. Damn, didn't think Omote-chan had it in her. Naruto whistled as he watched the scene unfold. You have to run while you can, Sukun, before it's too late, Omote pleaded as the brown-haired boy came back to his senses. Hold on a minute. I have no clue what's going on. Can someone please explain? He asked frantically. I'm sorry that you got sucked into this, Sukun. That girl is some reason she wants revenge on Yura-chan, and so she targeted you and Naruto. Omote explained solemnly, feeling that this was all her fault. What? I almost betrayed Omote-san, all because of some kind of revenge, he thought gravely. Seeing the look on his face, Yura scoffed. Enough of your pity party. We have more important things to deal with, she said while pointing towards the window. They turned to see a fuming Kuruma flying in the air. So that's the strength of a vampire, huh? Looks like I'll have to keep an eye on you, she said, glaring at Omote. Why don't you come out here so I can kill you too? She shouted as she tried to goad the twins. The fool wishes to fight, then so be it, Yura stated with a smirk. She was about to head out, but Omote stopped her. Yura-chan, let me fight her instead, she asked, surprising everyone. I'm afraid I can't do that, Omote, Yura said after recovering from her shock. Why not? Even though you are a vampire, your powers are still sealed. It would be too dangerous for you to fight, she said, crossing her arms. But you're going to fight, she protested. Sukun was her friend, and she wanted to fight for him instead of being protected for once. That may be true, but you have never enjoyed fighting. Out of the two of us, I am the most trained. Even with my powers sealed, I should be able to handle his succubus, Yura explained coolly. Stop talking like I'm not even here, Kuruma shouted as she flew back into the room. She grabbed Omote's arm and threw her towards the window. Unfortunately for Sukun, he was between the two and was sent flying when Omote's body crashed into him. The two fell out of the window with Omote landing on top of Sukun. Are you alright, Omote-san? Sukun asked as he tried to get up. Finally! Now I'll make you pay, Kuruma said as she flew towards them. Yura and Naruto ran towards the window to see what was happening. If you lay one finger on her succubus, I will end your pathetic life, Yura threatened, but it fell on deaf ears. As Kuruma was about to make her descent to finish of the duo, a bright light surrounded Omote. Sukun looked confused until he felt something in his hand. Glancing at it, he saw that he was holding a Rosario. More specifically, he was holding the Rosario that was usually found around Omote's neck. He must have taken it off by mistake during their fall. As the bright light faded, Naruto and Sukun were surprised at Omote's new appearance. Her usual pink hair had a silver streak on the left side. Her eyes changed from green to red, although it was not as dark as her sister's eyes, and her pupils became slits. Now in her new form she stood up and looked defiantly at Kurama. The succubus, though, was frozen in place, shocked. The sudden burst of strength caught her off guard. She quickly recovered and hardened her eyes as she glared at the vampire. "So you have a new hairdo, big deal," she said, not caring. She has heard rumors about the might vampire race, but she just didn't care right now. Her pride took too many hits from the twins, and she couldn't let them get away with that. Omote stood in front of Tsukun protectively with a determined look in her eyes. "You may think that I'm using Tsukun, but it's not true. Tsukun and Naruto are the first true friends that my sister and I have ever made. You tried to use them to get back at us for some petty reason, but I won't let you. I will fight for my friends," she shouted as Kurama flew down towards her. She quickly grabbed Tsukun's arm and threw him out of harm's way. Unfortunately, she forgot to take her vampire strength into account, resulting in Tsukun being wedged into a crater his body made when he hit a wall. Kurama went for a slash, but Omote was able to duck out of the way. As a counterattack, she aimed a kick at Kurama's jaw, but the succubus used her flight advantage by flying out of range. Now open, Omote had no chance to avoid the incoming kick that Kurama sent her way. As a follow-up, she grabbed Omote's arm and flew into the air. She spun a few times before launching the vampire, causing her to crash into the ground, the momentum from the spinning increasing the damage done. "If that's all you have, Akashiya, then I'm disappointed," Kurama taunted, but Omote ignored it as she stood back on her feet. Frowning, Kurama charged again, going for a high-speed dive attack, planning to end it now. What she didn't expect was for Omote to sidestep away at the last second before delivering a powerful kick, sending her crashing into a nearby tree. It didn't end there, though. Omote ran towards her, planning on hitting a strong punch, but Kurama was able to step out of the way. The punch ended up hitting the tree, breaking it in half. "Wow, she got a mean right arm," Naruto commented while Tsukun could only gape. The sweet and innocent Omote, who looked like she couldn't harm a fly, was kicking ass. "I suppose, but if she would just let me handle his, then we could be done now," Yura complained. "Maybe, but it's good to let you sister fight her own battles," Naruto said as Kurama tried to slash Omote, only to have the vampire catch her wrist, halting her attack. Shifting her body, Omote threw the girl over her shoulder, but Kurama was able to catch herself in mid-air before she received any more damage. "Okay, you're better than I thought, but let's see how you like this," she shouted as she began to increase her flight speed until Omote was barely able to see her. Suddenly a slash mark was made on the ground right next to Omote. Then out of nowhere she feels a sting on her shoulder and looks to see that there is a cut on her blazer. The slashes around her increase until it looks like she is stuck in a whirlwind as Kurama uses her like a scratching post. "Omote-san!" Tsukun cried out in worry as he helplessly watches his friend. "Don't worry, Tsukun. I'm alright," she reassures, though she winces when she receives another slash. "Quit acting all high and mighty. Looks like the mighty vampire race is all talk if this is what you're capable of," Kurama mocked. Yura was losing her temper as she watched her sister getting hurt, while some fool insulted her race. If she could remove her seal, then she could make quick work, but unfortunately that is impossible, until her eyes widened in realization. During the fight with Saizen, Naruto was able to remove her Rosario easily. Turning towards the blonde, she grabbed his hand and hooked it around her Rosario. Once it was in place, she pulled his wrist, causing the Rosario to come off in the process. Her Yuki was unleashed until she was surrounded by a demonic aura. Her pupils turned into slits, and her red eyes seemed to have glow. Her fangs became more pronounced as her nails became more claw-like. The sudden burst in Yuki was able to draw the attention of Kurama, who stopped her assault to investigate. Her eyes widened when she saw that Yura was the source of Yuki. This incredible energy, is this the real strength of a vampire? She asked herself in disbelief. The amount of Yuki that was flooding the area was astonishing. I may not be as strong as Yuri-chan, but don't turn your back on me. A voice called out. Kuruma turned around in time to meet the end of a right hook that sent her flying towards Yura, courtesy of Omote. Seeing this, Yura smirked before delivering a backhanded strike, tossing Kuruma away as if she were nothing more than a pesky mosquito. Naruto, shouldn't you do something? 2-on-1 seems a bit like overkill to me. Sukun asked. True, he was upset that Kuruma was using him to hurt Omote, but having to fight two vampires, especially Yura, seemed a bit too much. Naruto just looked at Sukun like he was insane. Listen, well, Sukun, one of the most dangerous things a man can do is get involved in a fight between women, Naruto said sagely. Don't you think you're exaggerating a little? Sukun asked with a sweat drop, but Naruto only shook his head. He knew from experience dealing with women like Tsunade and Sakura that girls can be some of the most frightening creatures in the world. Seeing Yura preparing to fight only confirmed it. Believe what you want, Sukun, but I would like to live to see another day. He said so seriously that Sukun began to rethink his earlier words. Maybe Naruto was right. Meanwhile, Kuruma stood back on her feet and glared hatefully at the two vampires. They have proved to be a more difficult obstacle to pass than she originally thought, but it didn't matter. She couldn't afford to lose. What's the matter, succubus? Are you already tired? Yura asked mockingly, which only angered her more. Don't mess with me. I can't lose, there's too much at stake, she said, getting a confused look from everyone. How is being the school's idol considered too much at stake? Naruto asked, not following, earning a scoff from Kuruma. This school means nothing to me. The only thing that matters is finding my destined one, she explained. What's that? The blonde asked while scratching the back of his head. I have no idea. Sukun frowned. Whatever it was sounded very important to Kuruma. The succubus find their destined one among the men we tempt. In other words, he is our soul mate. In order to prevent our species from dying out, we must find our destined one, she said as she flew high into the air. You two are getting in my way and I can't let that happen, she shouted before she drove straight at them, hoping for a high-speed collision. Foolish girl, your attack is too straightforward. It might be effective if I couldn't keep up with your speed. Too bad for you that is not the case here, Yura said before she appeared behind a surprised Kuruma and grabbed her tail. You not only bared your fangs against me but also my sister. You should know your place, she continued as she swung her tail, without releasing her grip, slamming Kuruma to the ground hard enough to create a crater. She picked Kuruma up by her neck before delivering a roundhouse kick that sucked the air out of the succubus' lungs before she fell to the ground. What's the matter? I thought I was in your way. Weren't you going to get rid of me? After all, I'm nothing but an eyesore, right? Yura taunted as she walked towards her fallen foe, but Sukun appeared between the two, surprising everyone, especially the succubus. What are you doing, Sukun? Yura asked angrily. I'm sorry, Yura-san, but I think you should stop, Sukun said, shocking everyone. Sukun, what are you doing? She tricked you and then tried to kill you, Omote asked, confused at his actions. Step aside or else, Yura warned with narrowed eyes. You've done enough, the human said sternly as he tried to put on a brave front, but on the inside he was panicking like crazy. I know what she did was wrong, but I don't think Kuruma-san would intentionally hurt us because of a simple grudge, he finished with a smile that caused Omote and Kuruma to blush. Yura, on the other hand, looked livid. Do not think that you can order me around, she said angrily, causing Sukun to take a step back. He was hoping his reasons would be able to convince her, but it looks like it didn't. And now come on, Yura-san, I'm sure that we can work things out peacefully. I think that Kuruma-san has a good heart, just like you and Omote-san, Sukun said nervously while Kuruma watched silently. After everything I put him through, he's actually defending me, she thought with a blush. I am not like my sister. She may be forgiving, but I most certainly am not, Yura stated before she disappeared and reappeared behind the human. Kuruma looked at her fearfully, unable to draw any more strength to even attempt to defend herself. This whole time you have constantly insulted my race, my sister and myself. Do not think that I will tolerate such behavior. When I am through with you, you will never be able to speak to me in such a manner again, Yura said coldly with a dark smirk as she stood in front of the fallen girl. Yura raised her leg in preparation for a vicious axe kick while Kuruma closed her eyes in anticipation, but the attack never hit. She opened her eyes to see another body between the two. Naruto was on one knee, crouched down between the two. His blonde hair was shadowing his eyes as he blocked Yura's kick with the back of his right arm. All in all, he looked pretty cool. "Oh, Kami! That fucking hurt like hell!" he cried out. Or at least he would have looked cool if he didn't fall on his back clutching his arm, thrashing his legs wildly as he howled in pain with anime tears falling out of his eyes. Seeing him in such a state caused everyone to sweat drop despite the serious situation. How was he able to block my kick? That should be impossible for a human, Yura thought curiously. "What do you think you are doing, Uzumaki?" she asked with a glare. After recovering from the pain, Naruto stood on his feet and looked at Yura without an ounce of fear. "Sorry, Yura-chan, but I'm afraid I agree with Tsukun," he said with a grin. "Oh really, please tell me why I should spare her," she said, crossing her arms, looking at him with a stern expression. Naruto tapped his chin in thought before shrugging. "Well, I could say that I agree with Tsukun, but seeing as how that failed the first time, it probably wouldn't work," he said. "You're right, it wouldn't," she agreed, waiting for him to make his point. "I could say that your sister looks like she agrees with Tsukun, but that might not work either," he pointed out, causing her to nod with a frown. "Yes, like I said earlier, I am not as forgiving as Omote. Do you have another reason, or are you just wasting time?" she asked with a raised eyebrow. Grinning like a fox, he walked close to Yura until his mouth was right next to her ear. And used to the close proximity, Yura blushed but did her best to hide it. "Then how about this one? Let her go and she will continue to live, but the memory of how you could have ended her without trying will be stuck with her forever. She will know firsthand that if she ever did anything to you, you could end her easily," he whispered. While he didn't like the idea of Kuruma living in fear, he had to play with the hand dealt to him, and he felt that this reason would definitely appease Yura. Yura listened to his words and a fang grin found its way on her face. She took a step away from the blonde and glanced at the confused and frightened succubus. Yes, she found that she rather liked Naruto's idea. "I will spare you this once, but make sure that you know your place. Do not even think about speaking to me like that again," she warned, surprising the other three. "What?" she asked, surprised. "You heard me. I will not repeat myself," Yura said as she turned away. "Thank you, Yura-san," Tsukun said gratefully, only to receive a glare that caused him to shiver. "Do not think I did this for you, Tsukun. You are on thin ice with me. The next time you try to tell me what to do, and you will meet the end of my foot," she threatened. Tsukun nodded vigorously, but Omote watched her sister silently. She knew Yura could be stubborn, and once she made up her mind, it was nearly impossible for you to change it. She looked at Naruto, who handed Yura's Rosario back, and smiled. Looks like Naruto knew how to deal with her stubborn sister, and for that she was glad. Yura grabbed her Rosario from Naruto while Omote took hers from Tsukun. The two vampires put them back on and their vampire features disappeared. "Like I said, succubus, I will spare you once. Do not waste this chance," Yura said as she walked away with the others following behind her. Next day. "I just wanted to apologize again for my behavior," Tsukun said again, earning a smile from Omote. "It's okay, Tsukun, and I should apologize for sucking your blood so much," she said, bowing her head. "Everyone has made up, I'm so happy," Naruto said as he wiped away an imaginary tear from his eye, causing Yura to roll her own. "As always, your theatrics are amusing, but it is too early for me to deal with them," Yura said, earning a chuckle from the blonde. "Okay then, I'll save the rest for later," he said with a grin. "Oh joy, I can hardly wait," she replied sarcastically. "Good morning," a cheerful voice interrupted. They turned to see a smiling Kuruma approaching them. "Kuruma-chan, what are you doing here?" Omote asked warily. Tsukun looked nervous, remembering the events of the previous day. Naruto looked bored, not really caring, and Yura simply looked pissed. Kuruma saw the look Yura was giving her and turned away timidly, causing the vampire to smirk in satisfaction. It looks like she remembered the little lesson that she taught her. "I bake you some cookies, Tsukun-kun," she said with a smile. "Why me?" Sukun asked, confused as he accepted the box. Remember when I said I was looking for my destined one? She asked with a blush. Yeah, Sukun said uncertainly while Omote frowned in confusion. Yura rolled her eyes at them, not really caring, but Naruto had a smirk on his face. I have a feeling that this will be good, he thought while watching things transpire. I decided that it's going to be you, she stated, shocking everyone. What? Sukun shouted in shock. The way you defended me, it was just amazing, she said dreamily before locking eyes with Omote. I will not lose him to you, she declared, earning a hard look from the pinkette. Sukun had a feeling that trouble could happen, so he did the only logical thing he could think of. He ran away from the two girls, wondering what he did to deserve this. Sukun, where are you going? Do something about this, Omote shouted as she chased after him. Sukun, come back. When will we get married? Kuruma asked as she also gave chase to the fleeing human. Unable to take it, Naruto began to laugh at the poor boy's misfortune while Yura sighed in annoyance. Does this mean I will have to deal with her presence on a daily occasion? She asked, hoping for a negative response. Don't think so, but look on the bright side, Naruto said as he slung an arm over her shoulders. Yura, who was used to this, ignored it and glanced at the blonde. And that would be? She asked curiously, doubting there would be a bright side. We get to watch them drive Sukun crazy, he answered with a grin, causing Yura to smirk. Well, that does sound amusing, she said as the two of them headed for class to start the day.